Welcome to Talkin' Jets. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside my co-pilots. I've got Green Bean, the Jets fan, and Matt O'Leary, NY. We will have Jake Asman joining us at about 8:30 or so. He's coming home from work. But Green Bean, how you doing tonight? Oops, sorry, you're muted. That's my bad.
You muted
Try
me?
that again.
Oh,
I muted you. Yeah, I did the double tap.
And I was saying so much. I said I'm awesome tonight, man. I'm in a good mood. I like the new view for Matt. That does something for me. I don't know why. I'm extremely interested in looking around, and I love when you're wearing the hat, dude. So what could be wrong over here? I'm doing great.
There can't be anything wrong. I love it. I love it. Matt, how are you doing tonight?
Yeah, it's like Bizarro Matt over here because I'm on my work computer. So I have like an L-shaped desk. So you're just seeing like a different side. I was getting ready. The Mac might have finally just stopped spazzing out. I was literally going to throw it off right off the wall. I was hashtag done with it. So yeah, this is what we're getting tonight. We're going to deal with it and we'll power through.
All right. So you're saying at the number 4 overall pick, you were looking to secure a top computer with your draft capital.
That'd be nice. That would be ideal. Yes, correct.
Very, very cool. All right. So we've got Green Bean cooking and we got Matt a little freeze beaning up. But let's go around. We got a bunch of things we could talk about tonight. I guess where I'd like to start some stuff off. Let me go back over here. I got to get my topics up real quick. Before we get into anything, make sure you drop a like on this video. For every 25 people that like this video, we're going to pick a qualifier for a t-shirt giveaway at the end of this stream. So drop a comment and leave a like, and possibly we will be able to get you a shirt. And if you're watching after the fact, make sure you comment down below, and you get entered for next week's shirt. All right. So I see Edward Ziff over here. He wants me to talk about a trade scenario, but I want to hold off until Jake gets on. So I'm going to have you guys remind me about Ed's trade down situation because we were talking about it. So I'll get it. All right. So when is the last time we were on? Was Joe Judge fired already? Did we have like this conversation about everything going on in Giantland and how that might affect us?
I don't remember.
I don't think so. Okay, let's go over there real quick. This is kind of an interesting topic. I want to get your thoughts on. So Joe Judge gets fired by the New York Giants. And the reason that's important to us is because they got the 5th and 7th picks. So they're going to be making 2 selections in front of the New York Jets. So if one of them is possibly looking for a quarterback or something that we're not looking for, that would be A-okay. So Green Bean, or actually Matt, we'll go to Matt first. How do you feel about the firing of Joe Judge? Who do you think they wind up getting, and what direction you think they go in the draft?
I think Brian Daboll is going to end up being their next coach. And I think he's going to go in a package deal with I forget his name off the top of my head, but there's a Buffalo executive. Yeah, thank you. There's a Buffalo executive who's been interviewing, and I think they're going to be a package deal. And I think it'd be a smart hire, to be honest with you. I like Daboll a lot, and the Bills organization have done a lot of things really well over the last few years. I think they would be smart to look for a new quarterback. I don't think you could run it back with Daniel Jones now, whether that is trading for one or finding one in free agency or drafting one. I don't know, but hey, I am all in on getting the Kenny Pickett propaganda going and trying to get somebody to trade up to 4.
Green Bean, what about you? How you feeling about the Giants and them firing Joe Judge? How does that affect their selections at 5 and 7? All right, good talk. So Joe Judge being fired, this is interesting for me. And I do agree with Matt. I think that
Keep muting me. Why you keep muting me?
I didn't mute you. That was you.
No, I didn't mute me.
I didn't mute you?
So
okay, you go.
Here's the thing. Gettle, you know what was cool about that? I thought they were going to keep Joe Judge because they made Gettleman retire, right? Which would make it seem like, hey, we're not forcing the GM, a new GM, to work with Joe Judge. Our GM retired or resigned or whatever, so we're going to be able to do this a quiet way. And then they fired Joe Judge anyway, and they cleaned house. So I think the Giants are in complete disarray. I think they're a mess. not to say they can't come out of it, but I think it's a good time to poke and point. If you've been waiting for a time to say some fun stuff about the Giants to Giants fans, it's right now. Now's the time that you do it, and I think get your pokes in because it's good stuff. I think they're a mess.
See, I'm a big fan of them going after. Well, I guess I should say I'm not a fan because I don't want them to do better than the Jets. But I do like Brian Daboll and I do like Schoen as the GM. I think those would be smart hires. Gettleman came from Carolina the same way that Bean and McDermott came from Carolina. So I think him liking Daniel Jones and his possible similar characteristics. Think baby Josh Allen, not as big, not as strong. Not as dominant, but baby Josh Allen. Them bringing him in, I think they run it back with Daniel Jones one more year, and I think they use their picks on offensive line, defensive line. Like I think they're a lock for Karlaftis and Linderbaum. Pure speculation, but I think they help out both sides of their offensive and defensive lines. Matt, what do you think about my thoughts or Green Bean's thoughts?
I hope they run it back with Daniel Jones so he fumbles 52 more times. That'd be funny as hell.
I love it. I love it. Green Bean, anything more to add?
No, I think it's good.
So
no. Listen. I would not keep Daniel Jones. I think if you get it, look, let's hypothetically they hire Brian Flores. I think which would be a good move for them. I really do. I think Flores is a good coach. I don't know what happened down there. I think he's good. So let's say they hire him. I would allow him to bring his own quarterback in, not the guy that Gettleman force-fed the New York fan base. Like, I don't know what that was. I don't have any hate toward Daniel Jones, but he hasn't done anything in the years he's been here to warrant a new staff feeling pressured to keep him or anything. Just they have a high draft pick, take a quarterback. What I think.
I don't hate quarterback going so high. I would love that. Pooch Guy drops in with the super chat, says seeing Akers has to make you feel good about Carl Lawson. They both had Achilles injuries. Was it Achilles? Is what Akers had back in forever ago. Was that May or June? And he came back that fast? Dude looks legit. Explosive. Like, I don't know. I think watching Akers run the way he ran last night makes me believe that the Rams are going to win it all. I have Rams over Bills. That was my my picks for the Super Bowl as of like entering the postseason. Matt, how you feeling about Akers and the return of Carl Lawson?
Yeah, I mean, he certainly made you feel good yesterday with his running performance. I thought he looked good, like he didn't miss time. And obviously we know with Carl Lawson, we didn't get to see him in the regular season. He was looking really good in training camp and the preseason and stuff like that. So my hopes are high that he is able to come back and play at a high level. Everyone's body's different, so it's not like a one-to-one comparison. They play different positions too. So like that also is a factor here. But I'm still excited about Lawson. I think he's going to be a good player for this team. He was in Cincinnati, and if he comes back and is, what he was earlier in his career, which I think he can be, then this is a great ad for the Jets.
Green Bean, what about you? How you feeling about how Akers performed last night, and how does that make you feel better or worse or whatever about Carl Lawson?
Oh, it's definitely better. I think it's like he's the most recent kind of example we have. And it's not just Carl Lawson. It's Jamie and Sherwood. We had 3 Achilles pops last year. So hopefully we got that out of our system. But yeah, man, seeing him come back and look the way he did, it's not just that he came back, he's at how he played. So I think it's really a good sign because we already know that Carl Lawson's ethic is not in question. Like his work ethic, his desire, like none of that's in question. Like Saleh said when he went down, he said, this is completely freak. Like Carl Lawson does every single thing right, everything. So I think that we already know that he's going to work back and do everything that he possibly can to get back. Seeing somebody that went through it and come out and play like they did, I think is a very good sign for Carl Lawson. Made me feel better.
Definitely makes me feel better. I was very, very concerned with how everything was going, with Achilles injuries and like, oh, geez, he's explosive. What's going to happen? Maybe Edge is not as big of a need then if they think the Achilles will heal that fast. Matt, do you think maybe the Akers recovery and maybe how people have started recovering from Achilles injuries in general, does that change your thought process on the number 4 overall pick?
No, because I think they still need another one on the other side. That you right now, I can't. Besides Bryce Huff, I couldn't tell you who they possibly could plan to be on that side. John Franklin Myers to me is going right back to the inside, and they're going to rotate a bunch of guys around. And I think in order to do that, they need to add more on the edge. So even with Lawson coming back, and if he's going to play at a high level, they still need another one. Because that's how weak it was. You can't get by with running, Shaq Lawson out there again, or a player of that caliber. You need another high-end guy.
I mean, what about you? Do you think the recovery of Akers changes the way you look at Carl Lawson, and does that impact your number 4 overall selection?
No, I agree 100% with what Matt said. I think not only do you not want to put every egg in one basket, but when they're injured and all that, it's just it's not smart to do. I think even if Carl Lawson came out and was 100%, I would still want to go with one of the edge rushers if Hutch or Thibodeau fall, and maybe even Karlaftis or a Jabo. I think that you definitely want him to have a partner on the other side and kind of loosen it up for guys like Quinnen and Rankins and JFM in the middle. I think that's when we become fearsome. So I would do it. I would take an edge no matter how you slice it.
Where'd that go? Pat Dunn drops in the super chat, says, walk me back from the cliff's edge with Mckay Beckton. Greenbean, I know you have some pretty strong thoughts on Mckay Beckton and how people have kind of maybe thought of a certain narrative. Why don't you take this one to start? How do you feel about Mckay Beckton and make Pat Dunn feel a little better?
Pat, check it out. Would we be all crazy upset if we heard that Zach Wilson was going to work with a trainer? If we heard that of our wide receivers are going to work with a meditation specialist or whatever it was? We want to hear that while they're not in contact with the Jets organization in the offseason, we want to hear that he's committed to keeping the weight off. I mean, dude, these narratives are insane. I mean, I haven't seen one piece of actual proof. It's all I'm hearing stuff. That's all we ever hear. And the fact that he signed up with a nutritionist, to me, sounds like good. That's what you want to hear. It doesn't mean that he gained 600 pounds and now he's being wheeled around in a wheelbarrow and they have to cut him out of his house. It doesn't mean any of that stuff. It just means that the guy's committed to continuing what he's being taught by the medical staff on the Jets, that he's got to eat right and do all the things that we want him to do. I think it's good news. I think it's just indicative of our beat and our experience as Jets fans for them to take the negative side and paint whatever negative picture that they can. I heard it and I thought, good.
Matt, what are your thoughts on Mckay Beckton?
Yeah, I'm happy. I did a video on him today about Mike Garafolo had a comment, and then also he, as Greenbean alluded to, is working with a nutritionist. I think that's a great thing for Mckay. We were saying it all year long. No duh, a guy who's 350 pounds when he hurts his knee and can't move is going to put on some weight. That kind of just seemed like the inevitable there. But my expectations for him are sky high for next year. I think he comes back and is an immediate impact guy, just like what he was as a rookie last year. I thought, he was really good in 2020, and I can't give up on someone who's that talented after, a lost sophomore season. I think you got to give him another run.
Yeah, I completely agree. I do think that it's good he's getting a nutritionist. This is the third time he's had one since 2018. Third that we know of. He could have had more than that. But each time that he had it, 2018 going into 2019, he winds up having an elite season, gets taken number 11 overall because of it. Then he gets a nutritionist just before the combine, comes in and puts up one of the highest RAS scores that we've seen in quite some time, especially for someone of his size. So I do think we should expect good things to come from this nutritional thing. It just kind of irritates me that this wasn't something that was already constantly being monitored. It just kind of irritates me to some extent. I would say this. I would say I am hopefully optimistic about Mckay Beckton, but I want to be prepared for the worst case situation, which is why I think taking offensive lineman at number 4 isn't that crazy of an ask. For me, I think number 4 is going to be an offensive lineman unless Thibodeau or Hutchinson is there. I get the feeling that I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't get that feeling. Maybe it's going to be edge and then it's it's going to be like Linderbaum or something at 10. But I should just get this out of my head. But I think banking on, I think you can't bank on Beckton being here beyond next year. I think you plan for him to be, but you also plan for him not to be, while also giving you the flexibility of like, so Mckay Beckton, George Fant, both up on contracts after next year. I think if you prepare for a possible moving on from Mckay Beckton, well, we lost Green Bean. He'll be back. All right, let's see. Let me go back to some super chats because I'm going to start missing some here. All right, Manny Romano. Manny Romano says, appreciate all you guys do. I may start my own channel because of all of you. Sweet. Highly recommended. Bleacher Report just reported Jets want to deal number 10. Thoughts? I don't mind it, I guess. It depends what we're going to go up and look for, or what we're looking to trade down for or trade it for. If we're trading it for a wide receiver, I would go hard after DK Metcalf, I think, if I had to give up number 10. I don't particularly want to. I would say number 4 is the one I would prefer to trade, if any. Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think if they were, it would be like a trade back kind of scenario. I would be surprised if they gave up pick 10 for a player. I do think the second rounders are in play, but like, I don't know. I saw the name Calvin Ridley come up, and while I'm interested in Ridley, but not for 10 overall, 35 or 38 is a completely different story. And I like DK Metcalf a lot. I don't know if I could do pick 10 for that. It's a tough ask, but if it's to move back and give you more assets, then that might seem a little bit more likely.
Yeah, maybe you trade back with like the Saints, and the Saints give you like either Ramchick or Marshawn Lattimore, get a fat contract off their salary cap, and we get, someone at a position in need. They could jump in front of Washington, get their quarterback, right? Bingo, bango, bongo. I would love it. Kyle Ormsby. We need to sign a wide receiver in free agency. Draft needs to be on defense. Green Bean, we'll let you jump in on this question first. Kyle Ormsby says we need to sign a free agent wide receiver. Draft should be utilized on defense. Your thoughts?
I agree. I think go out there and get a big boy if you want. Go get Allen Robinson on a down year. You can get him for the cheap, make him an incentive-laden contract, like, I don't know, $14 million with incentives if he makes it to X, goal. You give him 17 or whatever. He had a rough year because of injury, and all. In addition, Chicago was in disarray, man. They had a kind of a little bit of a merry-go-round with quarterbacks. Nagy got fired. Like it was different. It was tough there this year. So he had a down year. I think it's an opportunity to get a guy that last year we were talking about getting for like minimum $20 million. We were talking about. I think you might be able to get him less, but even if it's not him, I think bringing in a free agent wide receiver would be smart. And using the top end of the draft on defense, it's stronger in defense up top. So I think that would be at least something to consider. If you love a wide receiver, Burks or something at 10, that's fine too. But I think I'd rather see a free agent wide receiver, somebody that's a proven commodity, and then use the defense, use a draft for defense too.
Matt, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about free agent wide receiver and using the draft to focus on the defense?
Why? You're gonna like is Kyle saying that every pick? Well, how many picks they have? 9. You're gonna take 9.
I don't think he means all of them. I think he means the primary assets. I think we can kind of like maybe the top 3 of the top 4. We'll pretend is what he's talking about, with both first rounders being devoted to the defense.
I don't know, Alan. And like if we're looking at who's available, like we're gonna pay another Corey Davis like contract for Michael Gallup. I don't know how much that's moving the needle forward. Allen Robinson, it scares me after this year. He might he's getting up there in age. He might be trending in the wrong direction. Wide receivers sometimes when they get to 30, that's about it for them. He's got to be close to 30 right now, if not already. Godwin, I don't know. He's coming off a major injury now. There's not really a free agent wide receiver that I love. So if Kyle has somebody in mind, maybe we could have that discussion. But I don't know. I'm not intrigued by this wide receiver free agent class. On the draft side, though, I am. And there's a lot more free agents on the defensive side of the ball that I'm interested in. So I'd probably go the opposite of this, actually.
Yeah, I think I would as well. I could see there's some situations where you bring in someone like Allen Robinson, and I'm not opposed to that, but that doesn't fit the prolific possible wide receiver that you're really looking for. Godwin and Gallup would have been those guys for me if they didn't tear their ACLs. One name I do think is interesting, and he played really well last night, and that's Odell. He is a free agent. Where do you think he winds up? I don't know. I've always been fascinated with Odell because his talent is just incredible. But his head is not so screwed on straight. I would say this. I would say wide receiver, I would prefer a proven commodity, but I would prefer that to be a trade. I'm also fine with taking one at 10. I don't love the free agent class like Matt said, and I would prefer, kind of steer clear of that. Let's see. Garrett Ham came in with a super chat. He says, O'Leary put up a good fight. No safety first round.
Hey, there we go. I like it.
I guess that's someone that was upset that you wanted, or maybe he wanted safety at one point.
My stance kind of stayed consistent. I think Kyle Hamilton's a good player. I just don't know if adding a safety is going to launch this team to the next level where you could find pretty good value in free agency on one and find one later. That's just kind of where I'm at still.
I love it. Guys, if you're just tuning in, we are going to have Jake Asman coming on around 8:30 or so. And for every 25 likes we get on this video, we're going to pick a qualifier to win a t-shirt at the end of the stream. So make sure you do that. Right now, we got Spin Max Dave, Bobby M, Chris N3, Noel Suez, Gitmo Bob, and Ant Jets 82. You guys are all qualified for our t-shirt giveaway. So make sure you hit that like button on the way in. All right, where did my other comment go? Ryan Mondo. Where'd you go? I hate when this thing jumps up. I can't click on it fast enough. Ryan Mondo jumps in with Super Chat, says, we need proven talent trades. Find the Brandon Marshall of 2015, even defensively, for a vet cornerback or linebacker. More research I do, the more I love Hamilton and Dean. I would not be upset with Hamilton and Dean, depending on what happens in the trade market and in free agency. I would probably have to have Neal, Hutch, and Thibodeau go before Hamilton for me to consider that, or maybe, some combination of that. There's still other ways I might consider going, but if you're telling me that this is an elite generational safety combined with a guy that has a fierce, vicious, mean streak in Nakobe Dean, I think that instantly makes our defense a lot better. Green Bean, your thoughts on the safety?
Yeah, you guys know I've been on Hamilton for a long time. I even spent some time recently, like rewatching some of his stuff, and I just I love him. Now I am concerned about the injury though. They got to really take a look at that and see where that is and all that. So that would definitely be something that could give us pause. But I disagree with Matt on this one. I think we all know that. Matt has great points. Every single thing he says, I do agree with. I would still take Hamilton. I'm not going to reach for none of the guys up top. If we're at 4 and either Hamilton, Thibodeau, or Hutchinson slip, I'm taking one of them. That's how I see it. And it doesn't matter that they're a safety. If you guys watched my my offseason master plan, I gave the story about Ed Reed. We were here in 2002. It's exactly the same scenario. We needed a safety. It was known as a very strong safety class. And Ed Reed was on the board when we picked. We took Brian Thomas. 2 picks later, Ed Reed went. And we took Brian Thomas because we were going to get our safety in the second round. We did that. The safety's name was John McGraw. He was not on the Jets 4 years later. And he gave us 1 interception, and we lost out on Ed Reed. And Brian Thomas was good. I liked Brian Thomas. I did. I didn't like the pick when it happened because I wanted Ed Reed. But I liked Brian Thomas as a player, and I don't think he was a bust by any means, but he's definitely not Ed Reed. And that's the thing. I kind of equate it to something like that. It's there's an opportunity here to get a truly great player. It might not be the position that we would want to fill with pick 4, but the fact that we have another first-round pick gives us that maneuverability to do that. And in addition to that, I think Hamilton is at a position of that we literally don't have anybody. So we need help. Taking one that can be an Ed Reed type wouldn't be a bad idea, in my opinion.
Matt, any thoughts on the Hamilton-Dean combo or the proven wide receiver comment in a trade?
I definitely see the proven wide receiver. Who that is, I mean, Ridley. I don't think Seattle's going to deal with us ever again. So Metcalf's probably off the, or Lockett's probably off the table.
Imagine we trade him back their original pick. We're like, yeah, we'll take DK. You could have 10 back.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen. But I get why you like the players in Hamilton and Dean. To me, I see Dean as more of a fit for this team than I do with Hamilton. When I look at what 𝐒𝐵𝐞 and Salah and Douglas, just their track record, to me, they haven't given me any indication that they're going to take a corner or a safety in the first round. I think that's something they're willing to wait on and develop, and maybe add depth in free agency with a veteran. I'd like to add a vet corner, like someone like Joe Hayden, who at this point, yes, his better days are behind him, but he's someone who's still good in zone, and I think could help the young group along. And I mean, there's a lot of free agent linebackers available too that they could look at. So I think it's going to be busy for Douglas in both free agency and the draft at these positions.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'd have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure Joe Douglas was on staff in Baltimore when Ed Reed was brought in. I don't think he was on staff for Ray Lewis. I think Ray Lewis was 98. So I'm curious to see how he values that position, because what we've seen so far is that he will pay, Marcus May 20% less than the franchise tag. He trades away Jamal Adams. He drafts Ashton Davis in the third round, and he pays LaMarcus Joyner on a one-year contract. So nothing that we've seen so far leads me to believe that he values safety really high. I think Hamilton, I think we'll know by free agency. I think if he targets a safety in free agency, then maybe we'll kind of know. But then I would assume if we target a safety in free agency, we probably won't be going for Hamilton in the draft. So interesting stuff nonetheless.
It is. It's going to be interesting, man, because look, now let's say that the draft honestly, let's say we went with Linderbaum and Treylon Burks. Am I going to be upset about that? No. That's the good part about this, is that even though I'm more inclined to lean one way, and I think it might go another way, and there's a lot of options, there's a lot of potential up here that we can do a lot of combos that would make us so much better. And that's the great part about having 2 top 10 picks in this draft. There's quite a few players that I'd be totally happy with, even if they wouldn't be the player that I would select if I was a general manager. You know what I mean? How could you be unhappy with Linderbaum and Treylon Burks, even if you wanted Hamilton and Dean? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I feel exactly the same way. And I was talking to someone on Twitter or Instagram or something about this too. And it was just like, hey, look, we could go a zillion different directions. Free agency really depends on, or this draft really depends on how we go in free agency. But even then, if we go an offensive lineman with one of our picks, if we go with a linebacker, if we go with a wide receiver, if we go with an edge rusher, literally, I would be pretty happy with any combination of those two. So
I agree with that too. I also think obviously we have to talk about this now, but I think there's going to be a better idea of what we're doing after free agency. I think it'll become a little bit more clear.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. I also get the feeling that I think the Jaguars take an offensive lineman. I think they try to help out Etienne and Lawrence with the new head coach. I think Hutchinson goes to Detroit. And then with the news of the Texans possibly looking to trade out of 3, we could talk about that with Jake when he comes on. That means there's a really good possible situation where Thibodeau's sitting there for the Jets at 4, and that would leave me absolutely tickled pink. All right, sorry, I keep clicking on one thing, going through another thing. Pat Dunn says, push me off a cliff with Denzel Mims. Matt, I'll let you take that one.
For the case for why he doesn't want to give him another chance, I guess.
Yeah. It says he wants to be pushed off a cliff. He likes the thrill.
Yeah, just I think some of the effort on tape is a little scary at times. See, it's gonna be hard.
Who's this, Matt? Who are we talking
Mims.
about? Denzel.
Oh, Mims. Mims. Gotcha. Sorry.
So Well, I'm a big fan of his as a a draft guy and in his rookie year. So I'm still like I want to see him in training camp for that one last look. That's truly where I'm at. I don't think you go into next year giving him a role in like I don't know your top 4. If you want to go in and say, hey, in training camp you have a shot to be a wide receiver 5, maybe. But the effort was just not there, and that's scary because the talent is very much so there. And the more and more we fought for him to get his opportunity, when he did get that opportunity, he didn't run with it. So yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it happens when new coaches come in and systems change. Sometimes the guys you like, they don't end up sticking with the new coaching staff, and this might be one of those cases with Denzel. So I don't know. Maybe it's time to move on.
Ali Darwish drops in with a super chat, says, would you go all in for Daniel Hunter and Calvin Ridley in a trade? Daniel Hunter, the edge rusher from the Vikings. Green Bean, I'm going to throw this one over to you. How are you feeling about Daniel Hunter and Ridley?
All in? I mean, he's not a free agent, so you're talking about trading?
You're talking trade. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, look, I would consider a trade for him. The Calvin Ridley stuff, I'm not so into, I'm really not, the mental health stuff, and not to say it that way, but whatever the issue is with him is a legitimate concern, man. You don't want to trade assets, especially we were talking about trading our number 10 overall pick straight up for Calvin Ridley. I mean, you don't give away assets like that for question marks like that. In my opinion, I would be concerned. I love his talent, but I'd be concerned. Getting an edge rusher like that, it would just be about the price, man. I'm not the biggest fan of trading for edge rushers when the draft has a bunch of them that are legit. I like about 5 edge rushers in this class for us. And so I would be, I don't know, it would all be about price. I'd be interested in both players, but I don't know about what they're going to cost. You know what I mean?
Sure. You got to do your homework for sure. Mitt Flair drops in with a super chat, says, Green Bean, convince Matt why Kyle Hamilton is worth the 4th pick.
It ain't happening. I tried already.
It's not that I don't like. It's not that I don't like the player or don't think he's good. Like
what?
I don't know.
What situation has to happen, Matt? What situation has to happen for you to be okay with Hamilton?
We time travel back to the late 90s, early 2000s when the position was more important.
Oh man, that's ridiculous. What about what if we trade down like from 4 and he's there at say 10?
I don't know. It really is dependent on how the board breaks, but like there's still other prospects. Like I would rather, I know I'm not going to convince everyone on this, but I personally would rather reach for George Karlaftis at that spot than take Kyle Hamilton, because I think he's going to be more impactful for what the Jets want to do in getting after the passer. So I would take Nakobe Dean over him. I would take any of the pass rushers that you think could be there in the top half of the first round. I would take a wide receiver. I would take an offensive lineman over him. It's just I'm not going to be sold on it.
All right, so we'll move off that. V-Man drops into the super chat, says, fun fact, since Super Bowl 53, the Pats own a .308 win percentage against teams that finish over 500 compared to a 794 the 3 years prior. A strong offseason, we can surpass them easily. Since Super Bowl 53. What Super Bowl are we on now? Are we on I had no idea. 56?
56, yeah. So okay. I guess that's their last Super Bowl win.
Probably since, oh yeah, so Brady had to be there for one of those years, right? 1, 2.
Yeah.
No. Cam would 54. Oh yeah, that would be right. That'd be last year with Tom, then Cam, then Mac. Hey, look, that's good. I'm all about it. I'm not exactly sure how to take this. I guess maybe we hope for a once in a lifetime quarterback in the 6th round, or what are we doing here? But yeah, look, this is probably the biggest offseason we have. Biggest offseason since I've been a fan, because we've had a lot of the biggest offseasons, but we haven't had the cap space, or we haven't had the draft picks, or we haven't had the coaches. We have all these things perfectly falling into place. So I do think, V-Man, that we will turn this around pretty quickly. Green Bean, you think we could turn this around fast?
Yes, I think. Well, if you consider the last 2 years and next year fast, then yes, I do. I think that this is a year where we're looking for 500, maybe one of those playoff teams like that. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for legitimacy. I'm looking for competitive games. I'm looking for, like, I don't want to be winning 4 games again next year. That would be a disappointment, or 5 games. That would be disappointing. I think absolutely we can turn it around, man. And I think the Patriots are on the downward swing, man. They just paid $200 million for this team. They got the first round quarterback. They did everything, and they got their asses kicked in the first round of the playoffs. This was as good as they were going to get as far as a team, in my opinion. And I think it's nice. I enjoyed watching the Bills run it up a little bit on them. And I think that we can overtake them. I just, I don't know. I pumped the brakes a little bit. We're pretty bad, so I don't want to get too crazy.
Can we win a divisional game first?
Ooh, what are we?
There's that
12, I think.
Yeah, week 17, 2019. I would love V-Man. I know, I get where you're coming from here, and like, yes, the Jets are trending in the right direction. I agree with that for sure, but I don't know how we can go from they haven't won a divisional game since the end of 2019 when the Buffalo Bills rested all their starters to overtaking the Patriots, who, I mean, I hate the Patriots, but they were a pretty good team. They were the 6th seed and had 10 wins. I don't know. That's a very big ask. I hope they're more competitive this year. I think they will be. I think they should fall between 8, 9, 10 wins, but I don't think it's some guarantee or lock.
It's okay. We'll get there, Matt. You Debbie Downer, you.
Good point.
No,
right.
He's making good points.
But it's like last year when guys, remember when everybody was like saying like 11 wins, 12 wins, and,
oh my God,
and it was fun. It's a fun thing, but it's exactly what Matt said. It's like, well, why don't we beat one division opponent, just one out of the fucking 6 games, and then maybe we could talk about 12 wins. You know,
I'll be happy at 2 and 4, split with Miami and New England. And I mean, you're probably getting your doors blown off by Buffalo anyway. And there you go. That's improvement there.
All right. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, right.
You can take baby steps. Edward Ziff drops in with the super chat, says Beckton at 345, 350 will be more athletic and faster. That feels like a lot of weight for him to drop. I know he's been as high as 389. I think that was going into his junior year. Before he got his first nutritionalist. And then I haven't heard anything other than like the 365 or whatever he's at. But yeah, if we could go a little lighter, I would love to see a lighter, faster Mckay Beckton. Not that he's not fast. I mean, he's fast for someone over 350 pounds, but you know, I don't think we should ask for miracles, my friend. What about you, Matt? You think we could drop down that low?
350, I think, is a reasonable ask. What I think his playing weight was like 363 as a rookie. I don't know why that's jumping out to me, but yeah, I mean, and that's certainly possible. He's going to be working with a nutritionist for the summer, I'd imagine. I don't think you have to go through this crazy transformation. Bob's 10, 15 pounds. You're probably in a good spot.
Ryan Mondo jumps in with super chat, says trading back, getting Kyle Hamilton between picks 6 and 8 and Nakobe Dean at 10 is the ultimate dream. That would be one of my more favorite trade down scenarios, I think. Because if we move down from 4 to 8, I mean, you think the two edge rushers and like Neal are probably gone. I would think you probably would lose Hamilton at some point in that stretch of picks going back to pick 6. But you got to think 7 is probably a quarterback with the Panthers. I'd be pretty surprised if they went any other direction. So I guess Hamilton's first slot is either us or the Giants. So if the Giants don't get him with either one of their 2 picks, then maybe, yeah, sure. You know what? You go up and grab him. And you guys know I love Dean. Green Bean, your thoughts on trading back, getting Hamilton and Nakobe Dean?
Yeah, I mean, well, what are we getting? You know, I got that was my mock without the trade back. So yeah, sure. What are we getting though? What are we trading back for to 6? You getting an extra first? You getting some seconds? What is it? So that would have to factor in. But yeah, I mean, those are the players. I would take Hamilton at 4. So if you could bounce back, grab some capital, and still get the guy I wanted at 4, I think it's a slam dunk. And I think Dean grabbing a mean ass young linebacker in the top of the draft, the best linebacker from our perspective, whether that's Lloyd or Dean or whoever, grabbing him on top of having a Hamilton would be dramatic improvement for our defense. I miss having a couple mean ass linebackers. I just watched a game with Marvin Jones, Mo Lewis, and Brian Cox running around, dude. I just watched it, me and my son. I almost started crying. Like, they were in, all 3 of them were in on every single tackle. Every one, they were there. And it's like, I miss that, man. CJ Mosley's great. He needs help. So I would love a little Dean action.
Ooh, that makes me so happy. It looks like we got our 4th panelist in here. We got our boy Jake Asman. Welcome to the Talkin' Jets panel, brother. How you doing tonight?
Guys, thanks for having me. Ryan, appreciate it. And Green Bean, Matt, I mean, this is what it's all about. Go Jets, baby. Excited to be here.
Hell yeah, I love it. I love it. Let's okay, I had a comment pulled up. Let me find it now. All right. Anthony Vitirito. Sorry, I butchered that last name. Thank you for the super chat. Says, seeing Garrett Wilson mocked at 10 a lot, but I love Burks. Saw someone say he's a DK-sized Debo. That sounds amazing. Garrett Wilson, a DK-sized Debo.
No, Burks.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Reading comprehension, not good with Ryan right now. I think Burks is definitely a Debo comparison for sure. And if you can get him there, I mean, look, I would still prefer a trade to get a receiver because of the value it provides at, immediately, as opposed to having a receiver that needs to kind of learn the NFL speed and everything. The same way we saw with Elijah Moore this year, it took him about half the year to get going. I don't particularly want Wilson at 10. I think he's phenomenal if he's the pick, okay, but I'd like a different body typed receiver, and Burks kind of fits that bill. Jake, we'll throw it to you first. How you feeling about Garrett Wilson possibly at 10, and what do you think about Treylon Burks?
The idea of receiver at 10, I am very much open to. I think that would be, a real sign that this team is serious about helping Zach Wilson reach his potential. It's certainly giving him a much better chance in year 2 to be better than he was as a rookie. Whether it's Wilson or Burks, I'm good with whatever they decide. They just got to get it right. I know that's cliche and that's easy to say, but I'll defer to Douglas on this. If he thinks Burks or Wilson's worthy of a top 10 pick, then just do it. But at the same time, I don't want the excuse to be a year from now, oh, well, the rookie we took, the reason why we didn't have success is because he had to get acclimated to the NFL. You could draft a receiver at 10 and still go out there in free agency and add a couple veterans, re-sign Braxton Berrios. So while this guy's adjusting to the NFL, you can rely on Moore, Davis, Berrios, and another veteran they bring back or bring in, I should say. So I'm all good with receiver at 10. My preference is Burks. I like the size and the speed combination as a complement to Moore. But I'd be okay with Garrett Wilson. I watched Ohio State like everyone in this chat and watched them, dominate college football. So I'm good with that as well.
Green Bean, what about you? How you feeling about Garrett Wilson at 10 and Burks possibly being a DK-sized Debo Samuel?
Well, yeah, I just like Jake said, I actually prefer Burks if we're going to go wide receiver at 10. As you know, I'm hoping they use the first 2 picks on defense, 32nd ranked defense and all that jazz. And I'm really more concerned with what we do at tight end. I think they want to run some 12s and some 22 personnels, and that would limit the receivers that we need anyway. But if they do decide to go wide receiver, I'm not going to be unhappy because, like Jake just said, it shows like a little bit of a commitment. It kind of mimics in some respects the Bengals and what they did. We all thought they were going to go for the offensive line, and they just continued to go for more dynamic receivers for Burrow. And look, it's working. So I wouldn't be unhappy with that. But if they do go receiver, I would lean Burks. I would hope they did too.
Matt, what about you? How you feeling about Garrett Wilson and Treylon Burks?
I like both those receivers a lot. I'm more on Burks than I am Wilson. And it's just more because stylistically, I think Wilson's a little bit similar to Elijah Moore. I think Wilson would be good in the slot in the NFL. And I think the Jets are really missing that big body receiver who could be a big red zone threat and make life easy for your young quarterback. And I think Burks could be just that. I think he's mean with the ball in his hands too. He's a nasty runner. And I think it'd be really exciting to watch in this offense. I wouldn't be mad if it was Garrett Wilson. You can sell me on that. I just think stylistically, I prefer Burks a little bit more.
All right, boys and girls, you've heard our comments. Remember, for every 25 likes we get on this video, we're going to pick one person to qualify for a t-shirt giveaway at the end of the stream. And we're going to do a special qualifier. Everyone who comments, likes, and subscribes to Jake Asman's channel, link is down below in the description. Go over to his most recent video, comment, Jets Talk sent you there, and we're going to pick qualifiers from people that go over there from his most recent video. So, bam. That's where we're going. All right. So we've got 275 likes. I think I got to pick another 2 Nightbot qualifiers. Could be wrong on this. Let's go. Jake, the whole chat's excited.
I can't wait to win again.
Me too, Green Bean. It's been 11 years.
Way
Nice.
too long. Joseph Grana. You have been qualified for a t-shirt giveaway. All right. Next comment. Let's see. Where did it go? Bam. Wild Billy Boy. Thank you so much for the super chat. Says one of the DNs is going to drop to us with someone moving up for a quarterback. Trade back from number 10 to 18 and a receiver like Michael Thomas for Denzel Mims. Thoughts? Ooh, sorry. Belching. Not attractive on a podcast. Okay, so let's break this down little by little. Okay, one of the DNs is going to drop. So Jake, we've talked about or heard a little bit about the Texans wanting to possibly trade out of number 3. You're down in Houston. Give us some feedback on how you feel and where you think the Texans might be going with their pick if they stay at number 3, and where they might be going if they try to trade down.
Yeah, I see it in the comments here, people talking about how my latest video is Texans. But if you look at a video I did earlier today on the Jets, I always put out a daily Jets video. I talked about the scenario that exists where the Jets could be sitting there at 4 with either Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeaux on the board. And that scenario relates directly to the Texans trading out from 3. I think Evan Neal could go number 1 to Jacksonville, not because he's necessarily a better player than Hutchinson or Thibodeaux, but because they already have Josh Allen on that defense, and they invested the first pick in the draft in Trevor Lawrence a year ago. They need a left tackle for him. So they might go need over BPA in that spot and take Neal, who's still considered, one of the best prospects in this class. So if that happens, then the Lions at 2, I believe, would take Aiden Hutchinson, hometown kid. I don't think Lions fans would allow the general manager there to not take the kid that started at Michigan. So let's say Hutchinson goes 2. If the Texans are sitting there at 3, do I think they take Hutchinson, or do I think they take, Thibodeaux? Yes, I do. But Nick Caserio made it pretty clear earlier today in a radio interview here in Houston that he's open for business, basically being like, hey, teams, you need a quarterback. You fall in love with someone. You want to be this year's Niners, moving up from 12 all the way to number 3 to get Trey Lance. We're open for business. So if that scenario happens and then Thibodeau's there at 4 for the Jets, I mean, that's a run to the podium moment if you're Joe Douglas, if that happens.
Oh, 100%. There's nothing that would make me happier than watching a quarterback go in the top 3 and getting Thibodeaux or Hutchinson. But yeah, I agree. Like you said, Thibodeaux seems like the more likely player that would fall down just because of the whole Michigan thing with the Lions. And then as far as trading down from 10 to 18, 18 is the New Orleans Saints pick. So the swap of 10 to 18. Let's take a look at this draft value chart. What is the rough value? Wow, that didn't spell anything I wanted to spell. Sorry about that. Okay, so from number 10 is worth 1,300 points. Number 8 is worth 900 points, which means it's basically like getting a second round pick. Is that right? 900 to 1,300, 400 points. So that would be like getting the 50th pick. About a mid-second round pick is the value that you're attributing to Michael Thomas plus giving them Denzel Mims. I would definitely do that. I would have no problem sliding back and acquiring a receiver. I prefer the number 4 to number 8 move personally to get Calvin Ridley, but there's definitely a situation where I could see, Michael Thomas in green and white. I'm not as afraid of it. Matt, let's get your thoughts. What do you think about the Texans possibly trading out and one of those top two edges falling to us. And what do you think about the 10 and 18 swap for Michael Thomas?
I really hope that the Texans do trade out, or that some team trades up for a quarterback, because to me, like, that gives you your answer, right? This team desperately needs an edge, and the top two are, head and shoulders above the rest. So if one of them ends up to pick number 4, where the Jets' first one is, then great. That's your guy. You're all over it. You pick whichever one's there, and you're happy. The trade back, and I like Michael Thomas, but I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a little bit nervous. He hasn't really played in 2 years. I think it's 7 games in the last 2 years. That's risky for me. And again, when he's healthy, he's a great player. But I think you're taking a major risk if you're going to take on a player and someone with that kind of contract who hasn't really played that much over the last couple of years.
Now, I don't mind the contract so much, just because I think if we try to get someone like Allen Robinson in free agency, you're probably looking at paying him somewhere in the neighborhood of a 13 to 15, maybe $16 million contract. I don't think he's going to command a $20 million deal like he would have, just a year ago or so. But Michael Thomas is about 15.5, 15.7, and I think 15.8, maybe the next 3 years. I like having him under contract for 3 years. It's sort of the same way I would feel about if we were to deal with Amari Cooper. Like, I don't want to take on a $20 million cap hit with Amari Cooper, but if you had to have high cap hits for 3 years while you have Wilson on a rookie deal, not the worst case scenario. Green Bean, your thoughts on one of the edges falling to us and trading down from 10 to 18 to get Michael Thomas?
Yeah, first off, I completely agree. If Thibodeau or Hutchinson, and I think if one's going to fall, it's likely Thibodeau. I'm running to the podium. I have that already written on a card, waiting for that moment. I mean, those two pass rushers are the two guys, and interestingly, both of them, I like them for different reasons, but I like both of them equally. I would be ecstatic with one of them. As far as Michael Thomas, I gotta second what Matt said. I'm concerned about bringing guys in here that are already injured, and not just like, hey, they had an injury. He's been injured for a long period of time. This is not the place. We get guys that are traditionally healthy, Cam Clark, Mckay, Beckton, and they can't stay on the field for us. So we're still trying to right that ship. So guys that have been traditionally injured over the past couple of years, just give me pause, especially when they already cost 15 and change per year. So I'm not so psyched about Michael Thomas. And like we've talked about before, him and D-Hop were my two favorite receivers in the entire NFL at one point. I just thought, I went back and forth between the two, but I'm concerned about bringing somebody who's injured in here, using high levels of capital, and then designating and assigning large chunks of our cap to them when we're probably not going to see them play. I'd rather go about that a different way.
Jake, I want to get your thoughts on Michael Thomas and a possible trade down situation.
Concerns me. The injury history, and then just the reports coming out of New Orleans that he couldn't get along with Sean Payton. He couldn't get along with the culture and foundation that's been established there for years. All of a sudden, he's the guy that couldn't make it work in New Orleans. So I'm a little weary of bringing in anyone that could be disruptive to a young team that seemingly has a pretty good foundation that they've laid. Right? As bad as this year was for the Jets, we can at least point to this year saying, well, look at this rookie class. They led the NFL in rookie snaps. Like there's a foundation that was clearly laid this year. I'd be concerned with bringing in a veteran who wants to get paid. That's been a me guy in the past. I'd be out on Michael Thomas. I'm way more open to Calvin Ridley if his mental health checks out and he's okay to continue with his career. I think Michael Thomas, though, unless you have an established quarterback in place, that's like a non-starter for me with a young team like where the Jets are at.
Chris Bucco drops in with the super chat, says Williams, Reed, or Bates plus Jabril Peppers on the cheap. This goes back to the question that Matt and I were kind of briefly talking about with the whole, how much does Joe Douglas invest into a safety? And I'm not sure where that falls. Williams and Bates are going to be very, very high contract free agents. I love Williams. I'm a big fan. He would be my top safety if I could take one. I just don't know if I see Douglas doing that after, cutting May's potential contract offer 20% from the franchise tag to his, multi-year deal. He traded away Jamal Adams. He drafts Ashton Davis in the 3rd round, and then he gives like a $1 million deal to LaMarcus Joyner. So I don't know if I see him doing that. Jake, I want to get your thoughts because I've heard Green Bean and Matt's thoughts on the safeties. And you got a little bit of inside research on Reed as well, being in Houston. What are your thoughts on the safeties?
Totally agree. Justin Reed's the guy I'd sign. I think that's a day one phone call if you're Joe Douglas. I think he's that good. Like, I think he's one of the more underrated players in the NFL. He's not going to command the deal that Bates and Williams are probably going to get. Hell, I'd sign 2 of those guys, honestly. I really would. Like, I rather my philosophy has been fix the defense in free agency. So then in the draft, you could either go after pass rush or you could help Zach Wilson. Like, my philosophy with this draft, specifically with the top 10 picks, is either get to the quarterback or help the quarterback, meaning edge rusher. So Thibodeau or Karlaftis, if, depending how the board plays out, I'm good with either one of those guys. I'm good with them obviously going Linderbaum or good with them going Evan Neal. I'm okay with wide receiver. If you help Zach Wilson, I'm all about what they could do in the draft. So that means you got to pay guys in free agency. And the only way you pay guys, or the only way you sign guys in free agency, I should say, is by spending money and overpaying. So, if that's what it takes to get some good players here, do it. So, like Reed, I would pay. I think he's cheaper than Bates and probably cheaper than Williams as well. But I like all 3 of those guys. Safeties hit the market. That's the thing. Like, it's always tough to talk about free agency with certain guys. Like, Devontae Adams is a free agent. Does anyone actually think he's going to hit the market? No, right? So, like, safeties usually hit the market. So if I could get 2 of those 3 or at least one of those guys, I'd be feeling great if I'm Joe Douglas.
Tom Coleman drops in with a super chat. Thank you, brother. Says, what about trading back from 4? Take Karlaftis and the best interior offensive lineman with number 10 and package whatever you get to trade for Ridley. Love from the UK. Go Jets. Thanks, Tom. Love you from across the pond. I would say if you're trading down from 4 and your plan is to take, Karlaftis at 10, I would say you're going to be disappointed. I don't think he's going to be there. The interior offensive lineman, you hope Linderbaum's there. Maybe. I think 𝐒𝐿𝐾's probably going to go before that. Those would be probably the only 2 I'm strongly considering. The kid from A&M is pretty good too. Kenyon Green. I think it's Kenyon Green. Is that right?
Yep.
So I don't know. I'm not exactly sure where I would go with the trade down from 4. I don't know. Would I take Karlaftis at 10? Absolutely. 110% yes. Do I think he's going to be there? No. Interior offensive line, though? Yeah, I'm good with that. I think you got to kind of protect the quarterback a little bit, and you got to have a little bit more of a backup plan. That's kind of why I'm a little bit more on the guard tackle train. I don't know. We'll see. Green Bean, any thoughts on the Karlaftis and a trade down?
Yeah, if he's there at 10, I agree with you, Ryan. I don't think he's going to make it to 10. I mean, and it's funny because a month or 2 ago, I didn't think somebody was telling me on Twitter that all 3 edge rushers will be gone by 10. And I laughed. I said, ha, 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 like a pompous asshole. I laughed at him, gave him smiley emojis and all that kind of stuff. But I think that they will all be gone. If Karlaftis is there at 10 after a trade down, is that what he's saying? Yep. I would be happy with him at 10. I wouldn't think twice about it if that was where we ended up. I have no problem with Karlaftis, especially that late. I think that the Giants are probably considering him. I think that's where he'll go.
Yeah, I get the feeling that Karlaftis, if he passes by the Jets, gets snatched up by the Giants with one of their 2 picks, because I don't think the Panthers go that route. And I think Linderbaum is probably their other pick. I think they get those 2 offensive, defensive guys. Guys, for every 25 likes we get on this video, we're going to pick a qualifier to win a t-shirt at the end of this stream, as well as if you go over down in the description, you'll see a link to Jake Asman's YouTube channel. Head over there. You got to like and subscribe and comment that Jets Talk sent you there on his most recent video. And Jake's going to pick a few qualifiers afterwards to get entered into our t-shirt giveaway. So make sure you head over and do that. Richard Delgado drops in with a super chat. Guys, I see you guys putting in super chats. I'll get to them. Unfortunately, I can't get it to them that fast. So just give us a little bit of time. We'll get to all your questions. So Richard Delgado drops with a super chat, says, Jets need to draft the center from Iowa, Linderbaum. There are too many good route runner receivers in free agency, but I know every winning team has an elite offensive line. I love Linderbaum. If he's there at 10, I could rationalize taking him. I mean, I think for me, I would have to have gotten a trade for a wide receiver, and probably, Nakobe Dean not being there for me to really pull the trigger on Linderbaum. But I'm a big fan, and I'm all about improving this offensive line as best as possible. Matt, your thoughts on offensive line and Linderbaum specifically?
Yeah, and this is going to be my last one because I got to hop off and write a post-game article in a second here. But I would be surprised if the Jets went the Linderbaum direction. I do like him a lot, and I was kind of banging the drum for him early in the year. But I thought Connor McGovern turned his season around after struggling a little bit earlier on, and the Jets' offensive line overall turned their season around after that. I think if they were to go offensive line, it would be Neal if he makes it to 4. But I don't think Linderbaum is going to be the pick for them there. Maybe that they would go for like a second or a third round interior offensive lineman or address it in free agency. To me, I don't agree with this comment from Richard. I don't really like the free agent wide receiver class that much. I would rather go with one of those guys at 10 that we just talked about earlier. I think that's where I'm at here.
Matt, we will say goodbye to you for now, and we will see you next week, brother. Thank you so much for jumping on with us and talking some Jets.
See you, boys. See you next week.
Later, Matt.
All right. Green Bean, I want to get your thoughts on the center from Iowa. You want to take him at number 10, and how do you like the free agent receivers?
Yeah, well, look, I like Linderbaum as much as the next guy, right? I mean, I was just watching tape on him, 2 days ago, and I was watching some of his ability to pull and all that. It gave me memories of Mawai making it to the outside, leading, blocking, and I love him. But here's the problem I have, is that that's not a hole on our team. Like, we have legitimate holes all over the place. We have Ashton Davis as our safety. We have C.J. Mosley and a guy who popped his Achilles at linebacker. Like, we have serious holes all over the place. So for me, using our top 10 pick, which hopefully this might be the last time we're up here for a while, should it be? We'll see.
Nice.
But yeah, but I just don't see it. Like, I'd rather use that on an immediate impact player and take Alec Lindstrom from Boston College, let him sit behind McGovern for a year and come in the year later. I'd rather see that way, and the center handled that way. Now, I'll add that centers over the last 25 years have the second highest bust rate for top 10 picks. So does that mean Linderbaum's going to bust? No, it doesn't. I'm just saying, like, there are ways to play this thing. There are potentialities on all sides of this, and there are likelihoods. And I would say there are numerous positions where we could absolutely use an immediate impact player. And I think Linderbaum, not to call it go this far, but it's almost the luxury pick when McGovern is literally a top 10 center. So I would rather see us go another way. I don't love the free agent wide receiver class, but I do love a few guys in it. And I think that, hey, man, if we're really going to go for, making sure that Zach is well surrounded, I think getting Allen Robinson on an off year. I mean, dude, he's a great player. We know that. And I think, again, like we talked about earlier, with all the mayhem up there in Chicago, Nagy getting fired, numerous quarterbacks, guys learning the ropes, his injury, I think that's just, there's a reason why he has lower numbers this year. Swoop in, get a $20 million wide receiver for 13, 14, and call it a day, and then use the draft for other positions. I think I'd rather go that way.
Jake, how are you feeling about the free agent wide receiver class and drafting a center?
I like the class, but I just don't think a lot of these receivers hit the market. Like, do you think the Chargers are going to let Mike Williams walk when he has a great, a great chemistry with Justin Herbert, who's a young stud now going into his third year? Like, I don't know. Do we think, Devontae Adams is going to leave Green Bay? I don't personally. I mean, if he's available, sure, throw all the money in the world at him. I don't know if he's going to come here anyway. He'll have other teams that will do the same thing that are better than the Jets. So, like, I think Jet fans got to be realistic about the options at wide receiver. Like, we all want them to improve that position, but the way to do it might be using one of the top 10 picks that they have on receiver. And if that's the case, you might not be able to get Linderbaum because you're right. Connor McGovern had a pretty good year, and center's not a massive need on this team. Now, I love Linderbaum. I think if he's truly going to be this generational center, then if you take him at 10, he better be that good. He better be Kevin Mawai and Nick Mangold. We better have that lineage of of centers we're talking about 20 years from now and add him to the list. But like, that's really unfair to put on Linderbaum. And then I guess the other factor in all this where I'd be cool with taking him, if they could trade out of 4 and then end up with Linderbaum with one of the players they get, after they move back, I'd feel a lot better about it. But 10, I feel like has to be a position that is a need. And I do agree with you, Green Bean. While Linderbaum would help, I don't know if you could say center is a need given all the other holes on this team right now.
Yeah, and I think there's also a big difference between taking someone like Evan Neal or 𝐒𝐿 than it is Linderbaum. Because Linderbaum, you're specifically drafting him to play center, and you have a top 10 center right now under contract for at least another year. I think when you go with one of these guys that play guard or tackle, you're giving yourself the flexibility of potentially being able to move on from either Mckay Beckton or George Fant 1 year from now. Ideally you're not moving on from Beckton, but you gotta plug some holes on that offensive line. And I agree with Jake. If you trade down, then maybe it's a little more palatable to swallow. I like Alec Lindstrom from Boston College in like the 3rd round. I would think that would provide a better value than where we're going here. Mike Jerome drops in with a super chat. Thank you, Mike. Says, we need to go defensive heavy in the draft. Free agent priority. Sheriff, Schultz, Ridley, Davis. Ridley's not a free agent, but I understand what you're saying. Draft. Sorry. Too many bubbles. Draft. If we can't get Thibodeau or Hutchinson, I'd trade for and get more picks. Grab Ojabo. More explosive than Karlaftis. Sorry, cut it off. More explosive than Karlaftis. Dean or Lloyd and cornerback. Grab Ojabo. Thoughts trade. Okay, so he's saying trade down from 4 if you can't get one of the top edges to get Ojabo plus someone like Dean, Lloyd, or a cornerback, I think is how I'm reading that correctly. Jake, your thoughts? Well, you obviously want to go defense heavy in the free agent period. How would you feel if the Jets do go defense heavy in the draft?
I guess it depends on the circumstance, right? I feel like so much of what the Jets do in free agency will influence how they use these top 10 picks and really how they impact, the top 40 picks, right? Like you could sell me on Linderbaum at 10 if you tell me you might go wide receiver with one of your 2nd round picks. Also, the scenario exists where the Jets trade back into the 1st round to get a player they like that's falling. That exists as well when you got 2 picks in the top 40, 35, and 38. So it's so tough to answer some of these hypotheticals because I really think free agency impacts what they do in the draft. If they sign Dalton Schultz in free agency, as much as I want Trey McBride at 35, I would understand if the Jets, let's say, took Linderbaum at 10. I would understand if they took John Mechie in the 2nd round because the value was there, or Jameson Williams somehow was there at the beginning of the 2nd round. Like no one thought Elijah Moore was going to be available with the 2nd pick of the 2nd round. So, it's tough to answer these certain scenarios. I really think, though, free agency impacts the draft more so than in the past. Like I think in the past, Joe Douglas was best player available because the team had a million needs. Now they still have a million needs, but they have a quarterback going into year 2, a head coach going into year 2, and it has to be about filling needs so you can win games, right? I hope that makes sense. So I'm all about them adding playmakers. I don't care how they do it, but I don't want to be sitting here a year from now having to make excuses for Zach Wilson. Oh, he didn't have enough weapons. We're not doing that. Like help this kid so we can find out what he is going forward.
Preach. I love it. For those of you wondering, the trade-up scenario that Jake is referring to, we have 2 second-round picks. We have our 3rd round pick. Just throwing some ideas out there. If you were to give up both second-round picks, it would get you up value-wise to about the 15th overall pick or so. If you trade away 35 and your 3rd, you're getting up to about 21. If you give away 38 and your 3rd, you're getting up to about 23, 24. So there's a realistic possibility if one of these receivers fall, maybe like a Jameson Williams, someone that could be had at the back end of the 1st round. You won't have him maybe for the beginning part of the season, but maybe the long-term impact of him might be something that the Jets are kind of keeping an eye on, especially if they bring in someone like Allen Robinson in free agency. There's a lot of different ways you can go. Green Bean, your thoughts on going defensive heavy in the draft and free agent priorities as listed on the screen. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. At pick 4, it just so happens that that the really true blue chip players in this particular draft happen to be on defense. At the same time, we happen to have the literal worst defense in the entire NFL at number 32. So I think it's a marriage made in heaven to go defense early in the draft. I think it makes a ton of sense. You taking what the draft gives you makes a lot of sense. the thing is too, when I look at prospects like in a weaker position in a draft class, I look at like right now, this class is known as a relatively weak wide receiver class. Now, guys that are in the first round conversation for this class, where would they stack up in the last two drafts? The last two drafts had very strong wide receiver classes. So where would Burks or Garrett Wilson or whoever, where would they have been taken last year or the year with Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb and Henry Ruggs and Pickens and all those guys? And if you can't say first round pick, then I wouldn't push them up to first round this year and alleviate what the draft is strong in, and that happens to be defense. Now, once we get to pick 10, whatever you want to do, it depends on, who's taken and all that and who's there. But I think drafting defense heavy in the first round, go ahead and get the best safety, one of the best 2 pass rushers, and the best linebacker in the entire draft, and call the first round a day, man. When we get to the second round, we have 35 and 38. They might as well be first, just like you said before, Ryan. 35 and 38 are incredibly valuable picks. We can absolutely get first round talent with both of those picks. You grab your tight end, you grab your wide receiver. There are going to be studs there. And I think that's a smarter way to go. Like, use where the draft is strong. Don't force feed a weaker position into what you want at a pick just because that's a position that you're hoping to need. That's called drafting for need, and it's very dangerous.
I could not agree more. You don't want to reach on certain players, but I do think there's a delicate balance, right, between need. Like, you're not going to, if the quarterback is the best player on the board, you're not taking a quarterback. But you got to balance. Things. All right, Jack Filipowski jumps in the super chat. Thank you, Jack. Says free agency: Dalton Schultz, safety Marcus Williams, wide receiver Pascal or Lazard, Ingram at running back, Penny at fullback, Walker at linebacker, Nelson at cornerback, draft Kayvon Thibodeau. Sorry. At number 10, take Lloyd. 35, take Brisker. 38, take McBride. 49, take Pickens. Well, yeah, I would definitely sign up for that. I kind of run into that situation about the safeties again. Is Joe Douglas going to spend that much money on Marcus Williams? I love it. If you could do this, I would 100% sign up for it, twice today and maybe another 2 times on draft day. Jake, your thoughts?
Yeah, this would be, where do you sign right now, right? So much has to happen for this scenario to play out. I'm all about edge with one of the picks they have in the top 10. My concern with you look at the Jets and they have a bad defense. All right, well, are they going to take a linebacker that high? Like, Dean's great. Is he worthy of a top 10 pick? So that's like the scenario you run into if you're the Jets when you kind of consider like the offense versus defense strategy in the draft. I keep going back to it. I sound like a broken record. I got to see what they do in free agency first, because I really think that impacts, some of the needs they have in the draft. Like, we're not sure if Douglas is going to spend big money on safety. If he does, I don't know if they're going to take Hamilton if he's sitting there at number 4, or if he somehow slides to number 10. I don't know if they would do it given some of the other needs they have on this team. So, that scenario that Jack wrote that's up on the screen, yeah, Dalton Schultz would be incredible. Williams would be incredible. If Thibodeau somehow were to be there at 4 because the Texans slide out, where do we sign, right? Greenbean was making the joke, you run to the podium the second that scenario plays out. I agree. I just think it's still very early in this process, and specifically with the Texans, I do not think they're ultimately going to have a trade partner to move out of 3, because I just don't believe in these quarterbacks. I think someone will get drafted in the top 10, but I don't know if there's a team that's so desperate that they feel like they need to move heaven and earth to get all the way up to number 3. So hopefully they all play great at the Senior Bowl and the Combine, and then maybe this scenario could actually be a reality. But my sense is I don't see that team trading all the way up to 3. And if that doesn't happen, I think the Texans would just take Kayvon or Hutchinson, who's ever there, with that 3rd overall pick.
Greenbean, what about you? How are you feeling about this mock-off season by Jack Filipowski?
Yeah, I think it's fun. This is good stuff, for all that to happen, can you imagine if everything we wanted to happen happened? Like, they go and get Schultz, you get Williams from the Saints, you get all these guys, and then the draft falls exactly like you want. I mean, the way it's like we're talking in the chat a little bit about guys are still bent out of shape, a little bit about not taking Creed Humphrey, but it's like we took Elijah Moore with that pick. The truth is, you can get great players, you can do great things, and not get everybody. It's unlike like you literally can't take everybody. You get 7 picks, we get 9 this year, so we can do a lot of damage. But I'll tell you what, if I had to make one of these a priority, I would love to get Dalton Schultz, man. I would be the second free agency opens. I hope Joe Douglas is literally knocking on his door. Like, hello, here's a bag of cash. Let's go. That's what I want. Will that happen? Probably not. But I would love to see that. If I had to pick one guy, I'd be really psyched if they came home with Dalton Schultz.
He solved so many of their issues, right? You bring in Dalton Schultz, and all of a sudden you have that tight end. You don't need to reach on any tight end in the second round. But if you love someone in the second round, like a Trey McBride, you could take him, or you could go linebacker. You can go safety in the second round now. You can go wide receiver, depending on what you did in the first round. If you didn't go wide receiver then. Like, if you lock in tight ends, you have not only someone that could play the position for the first time in years on this team, but he's an offensive force. Like, this is like Dustin Keller is probably the last good Jets tight end they had. This guy's double the player Dustin Keller was. Like, you're getting an elite pass catcher who's also a good blocker that will dominate in this offense that LaFleur is going to call for Wilson.
Yeah,
hey,
100%.
I heard it. Hey, Ryan.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Just to go on that, I heard a stat today. I wanted to run it at you guys. Do you guys know the last time the Jets had a Pro Bowl tight end? Do you know when it was? What year?
Mickey Schuler? How long are we talking?
Fucking Mickey Schuler, 1988.
Ridiculous.
1988, dude.
Ridiculous.
You're getting ridiculous.
I wasn't even born. I mean, it's a joke.
I was a sophomore in high school. Yeah, I was a sophomore in high school, I think.
Guys, if you're just tuning in, make sure you drop a like on that on this video. For every 25 likes we get, we're going to pick a qualifier for our t-shirt giveaway at the end of the stream in just about 30 minutes or so. And if you want to get qualified as well, head over to Jake Asman's channel down below in the description. Comment, like, and subscribe his most recent video saying Jets Talk sent you over there, and you will get qualified for our t-shirt giveaway at the end of this stream. Our next person up, we got Steven, Sack Exchange. What's up, brother? He says, well, now this is just awesome. The 4 Horsemen, love what you all do. As for Ridley, for number 10 overall, that's crazy. Why wouldn't the Falcons just keep him? Mental health issues worse than physical. Yeah, look, mental health issues could definitely be worse than physical for sure. As for number 10 overall, I'm not trading number 10 overall for Ridley because I'd rather take a cheaper wide receiver in the top 10. And I love Ridley too. I would give up one of our second round picks. I would trade down from 4 to 8. There's a whole lot of other scenarios that I would do to get Ridley, but giving up number 10 is not one of them. Jake, Ryan, I want to get your thoughts.
No, I was just going to say, where did this number 10 for Ridley scenario come? Like, people have asked me that all day today on Twitter.
Apparently,
know?
Connor Hughes. Apparently,
Connor Hughes.
Is he high? What? I like Connor, but the idea that Calvin Ridley is going for a top 10 pick when he hasn't played this past year and he's not under contract past this year is nonsense. Like Calvin Ridley's a really good player. Stephon Diggs went for a late one. DeAndre Hopkins, thank you, Bill O'Brien, went for a second round pick. Now, that's not the best example. OBJ went for a mid one. But, like, you get my point. Like, Ridley's a really good player. But coming off the year he had, you're not trading number 10. If you told me you trade, a second and a third round pick, or a second this year and a second next year, like, I'd listen to that. I'd be okay with that. But a top 10 pick for Calvin Ridley? Yeah. In what world is that ever happening? He's got 1 year left on his contract, and he didn't play football this year. He played like 5 games.
Oh, yeah. Zero shot I'm giving up number 10 overall. It would be absolute Looney Tunes to give up that for Calvin Ridley.
I'm happy to hear Jake say that. That's fun.
I saw it in the chat. I saw someone said number 10 for DK. Number 10 for DK is the only way I give up number 10. And I think it's purely because, like, I would love to trade Seattle back their pick for, like, an elite wide receiver. I think that means more to me than, like, the actual player himself, because you're going to have to pay him $25 million a year at least. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is getting 27. Devontae Adams is going to be asking for close to 30. So what is DK going to be worth? I'm not paying someone $30 million to catch football. Like, I'm sorry. I love some of these guys, but I don't. Dude, $30 million, that's a shit ton of money. I'd rather have 2 Carl Lawsons at $15 million a pop than 1 wide receiver that's going to get, maybe 10 targets if you force feed him.
DK for the number 10 pick, though, would be funny just to be able to make fun of Seahawks fans that they turned Jamal Adams into AVT, who's already the best offensive lineman on the Jets, and DK Metcalf. I don't think it would happen. I don't even know if Seattle's going to trade him. But could you imagine the Jet fan could say we turned Jamal Adams, a box safety who can't cover. He's worse than Ryan Gosling, and remember the Titans as far as being a liability in pass coverage. Imagine they turned that guy into AVT and DK Metcalf. I would laugh. That'd be incredible.
It'd be absolutely amazing. It's almost the same way I felt about the Texans possibly trading Watson to the Dolphins last year, like before the draft. I was like, look, the Dolphins got the 3rd pick. If the Jets come knocking with the 2nd pick, 0 shot. 0 shot are the Texans trading with the Finns to get their original pick back. It's the same idea. Idea. Yeah. No way are the Jets and Seahawks trading for DK. I don't know if they're ever going to trade again with this current regime because Joe Douglas has pulled the fleece over their eyes. Green Bean, your thoughts on Ridley at 10?
Yeah, I'm happy to hear Jake's passionate take on that because like you said, it's been all day. People are saying it, and it's just I think that's one of the more ludicrous takes I've ever heard. It's just like, come on, man. Like really, and for all the reasons Jake said, I don't have to regurgitate anything or anything like that. But I think Calvin Ridley's a nice player. He's obviously talented. None of that's in question at all. The problem is he didn't play last year, and not because of an injury, because of something that he had to deal with, right? We don't know what it is, but they're leaning towards a mental health concern, whatever that might be. If he had like a little issue in Atlanta, how do you think the New York media is going to handle that? Dude, they're going to feast. It's blood in the water. And not to say it's right, but it's the truth. Look at the stories about Beckton. They've been saying he's fat and overweight for the whole year. I mean, his trainer came out and they were saying he's 40 pounds overweight. His trainer released a video the next day and he looked like he was ripped. And it's like he said there's no truth to this. So we see how it is here. It just is. And I would think like something like a Calvin Ridley, I don't think this is the place for a guy having any struggles. And you guys know I'm in the mental health field. That's what I've done for the past 16 years. I'm very sympathetic and also empathetic towards such things. I just don't think New York is necessarily the place, especially using a top 10 pick or a 1st round pick in general. I wouldn't, especially because like Jake said, he's got 1 year on his contract, man. You're going to trade all that. And what are you going to do? Pay him? I just use the 1st on a wide receiver if that's what you want, in my opinion.
Ethan. Oh, nope. Sorry, not Ethan. Sorry, my bad, dude. Edward Ziff drops in with a comment from earlier. He wants to talk about 3 first-round picks, meaning the possibility of the Jets possibly trading back into the end of the 1st round. Jake, I want to talk to you first. Would you like the Jets to trade up back into the 1st?
I'm certainly open to it. If there's a player they love, I mean, let's not forget the Jets. Did they not trade back into the 1st round to get Dustin Keller, who we were just talking about? Yeah. I think, did they? I guess they had 2 first-round picks in 2006 when they took Mangold. But the point is, I'm not against the idea of the Jets being aggressive. If there's a player they really like, they have the draft capital. This goes back to what Douglas was saying about the flexibility that this team has. You have to be aggressive if you want to go out there and double your win total. Like, I don't want to hear we're rebuilding for 2023. So if they use some of these picks in the early rounds, right? I think it's 7 in the first 4 rounds. They got 2 4th-round picks. If they package 35 and their extra 4th-round pick to move up and go out there and get back into the 1st round at the back end to get a player they love, I would do it. I have no issue with that. If there's a player they love and they want to go and get them, go and get them. But you got to be right. I mean, like, we're going to judge Douglas on this draft more so than any draft he's probably had in his career, given the assets he has going into it, right? The premium capital he has. So I'm all about it, but like, anything they do, you got to get it right, because if they don't get it right, it's costly to swing and miss if you're giving up capital to move up for a player that doesn't ultimately end up working out.
Green Bean, what about you? Trading up for 3 first-round picks.
I'm always so scared to give away our capital. I'm such a mid-round like whore. I love it. I love the 3rd and 4th and 5th round. But look, like Jake just said, if there's a player that should not be there, like he's at pick, 31, and like they can get up there for, pick 35 and say a fourth or whatever it is, and they love him, I say, yeah, why not, man? Go ahead and do it. Be aggressive, just like Joe Douglas did last year with AVT. He gave away 2/3. I hated that end of it, but he did get a fourth back, which made me a little happier, so I could play with my 4th round pick. But he got AVT, and nobody questions the 2nd round pick that we gave to move up to grab Darrelle Revis. It's not even discussed. Why?
Bingo.
Because he's Darrelle Revis. So in the moment, it might be a little like shit. You lose an asset. At the same time, if a guy that they thought was going to be a top 15 pick is sitting there in the late 20s, early 30s, and you want to get him and you can, go ahead.
Yeah, no one hates the AVT pick, but at the time you had like the draft nerds on Twitter being like, "Oh, well, the Jets gave up too much." Oh yeah, how'd that work out after they drafted arguably the best guard in out of the rookie class and a guy that looks like could be a 10-year starter on this line? Like nobody cares what you give up if you hit on the player. That's why it's like it ended up not working out. But like I remember Jet fans, we had this debate: did they give up too much to move up from 6 to 3 the year they drafted Sam? If Sam ended up being a franchise quarterback, no one would care what they gave up. Like if you hit on the quarterback, it doesn't matter. If you're now that you had the quarterback, if you hit on some players that can help them, like if they trade back into the 1st round to get, let's say Jameson Williams somehow is sliding and he's there. Is anyone going to hate that pick if Jameson Williams a year from now is lighting it up on Sundays, helping this team finally win damn games late into the season?
Yeah, no, I'm 100% on board with both of you guys. Depending on the player, if there's someone you like, move into the late 20s, early 30s, absolutely go up and get your guy. No problem. No questions asked. That's why you make these trades and you get so many assets to work with. Kevin Harrigan drops in with a super chat, says, stay away from Thomas. Ridley goes for a mid-round pick in 2022, conditional 2nd in 2023, maybe 2 mid-round picks. I disagree. I think there's a situation where the Eagles give up a 1st-round pick for Ridley because he can go back and he can play with Jalen Hurts and he can go back and play with Devonta Smith. And they have 3 first-round picks, with number 19 being the furthest back. I think a 2nd-round pick is going to have to do it for Ridley. I'd be surprised if, maybe he doesn't go for a 1st, but I would be surprised if at the very least he didn't go for a 2nd. Jake, your thoughts?
Yeah, the Eagles are interesting in this scenario, right? Because they have so many 1st-round picks with 3 of them. What's trading the 19th overall pick to get Calvin Ridley to them, if that's something they want to do? That's why it's like if I'm a Jet fan, I want Ridley if the mental health checks out, but it's not a I need to get this guy or else scenario. Like I'll take my chances in the draft with Burks, with Garrett Wilson, with Olave, with Drake London. It's a good wide receiver class. Like I've had some draft people on the YouTube channel and even my radio show down here in Houston, because obviously the Texans are picking 3rd and people are very interested in the drafts. Like it's a very good receiver draft based on what some of the early reports are, even with the injury to Williams. So if you could find some really good players in the draft in the top 40, you don't need to be desperate to get Ridley. Now, you got to re-sign Berrios. To me, you got to add another veteran in free agency. If you can't get Devontae Adams or Mike Williams, can you get Christian Kirk? Can you get, I don't know, give me another like mid-tier wide receiver that maybe is available, like someone better than 𝐒𝐿 Cole that could become available for the Jets to bring in that type of player. And then, you could use the draft either in the top 10 or your top 40 picks to get a receiver as well. So I like Ridley. Long answer to a question here, but I'm not desperate to get Calvin Ridley, if that makes sense.
Green Bean, your thoughts. What do you think Ridley goes for?
I think he's going to stay right there in Atlanta. I think this is much to do with nothing. That's what I think is going to end up happening. But I think if he does get traded, I'm think probably a 2nd-round pick. That's what that sounds right to me.
All right. Who we got next up here? Oscar Delon. Thank you so much for the super chat. Says, we need a tight end badly, guys. That would help Zach tremendously. Matt, been preaching about this lately. Yeah, no, 100%. I think we're all on board with Dalton Schultz or Trey McBride or Jeremy Ruckert from Ohio State, the hometown Long Island favorite, depending on what round you're looking to get him in. There's definitely a few different options the Jets can go. I'm not opposed. If we can't get Schultz, go after Njoku, go after O.J. Howard, and draft Trey McBride in the 2nd round. No problems there. So I won't bother going around the whole panel there. Adam S., thank you so much for the super chat, brother, says, trade back, add another 2, grab Jermaine Johnson. So to drop back and add another 2nd, you're looking to drop back at least to like pick 11 where Washington is. And if I'm dropping back from 4 to 11, I'm looking for their 1st-round pick next year. I don't care about any picks this year. if we could add another 2 in some capacity, you want to take Jermaine Johnson, and now you have maybe Nakobe Dean and Traylon Burks or something along those lines, I wouldn't necessarily mind it. Greenbean, what are your thoughts about trading down and adding another 2?
Yeah, I love it. I'm always into a trade down, but it all depends, man. Like at some point, like, I'm all about draft capital. I'd love to continue the streak of having numerous firsts and seconds and all that. It adds to our potential, right? But at some point, if you got blue chippers on the board, we need to start acquiring them. We need our freaks. Where are our freaks? We have no freaks. I want freaks running around. I want an Ed Reed. I want a Ray Lewis. I want these guys. CJ Mosley, if he has some help around him, could be that. I think he really proved that he's still going to be going at 100 miles an hour, 100%. I like him. He needs help. Where are the freaks? So at some point, you got to just stay put and say the capital that you can acquire is not worth this player. If Tibbs is there, Hutchinson's there, Kyle Hamilton's there, those are those players, in my opinion. So I wouldn't if they're there, but I always like a good trade back. So we'll talk about it.
Bright Knight, thank you so much for the super chat, says trade down to the Broncos for number 12, take Ahmad Gardner, Sauce Gardner. Later take Leon O'Neal in the 4th and Justin Reed. Oh my, I really like Ojabo. Oh, and
Justin
I really
Reed,
like
the
question
safety?
mark? Yeah, that's what I'm assuming, the safety. And I like the O, and I really like Ojabo. Like I am Ron Burgundy. That kind of little twang at the end there. Look, I'm not opposed to trading down. I like Sauce Gardner. I don't want a corner with our top 4 picks personally. Maybe you convince me in the second round if you wind up going with Dalton Schultz in free agency, but I think this defense is more predicated on pressure on the quarterback than it is on coverage from the corners. Jake, your thoughts on trading down with the Broncos and looking for someone like Sauce Gardner or Justin Reed?
Yeah, I'm open to Justin Reed. Is there a draft prospect named Justin Reed I'm unaware of, or we're talking about this Texan safety free agent?
I'm assuming we're talking about the Texan safety free agent. I'm going to pull up Tankathon right now because I'm pretty confident there is not someone named Reed in this draft. But I could be wrong, or at least like high enough to really be thinking about.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that part. But I will say if they do trade back, I'd be okay with that scenario. To me, I don't want them to trade so far back where it's like, oh, well, they got an extra 1 for next year, and then they're going to be picking towards the bottom of the first. Like, I want a really good player now. Like, you got 2 top 10 picks. There should be 2 impact playmakers that are being added in this draft day 1 that's gonna help this team either on offense or defense win games next year. Like, no one should be giving this regime a pass. It has to be about doubling the win. Like, the bar, by the way, is still pretty low. This team has missed the playoffs 11 years in a row, longest playoff drought in the NFL. And I think most rational Jet fans are like, hey, just win 8 games next year. Just double the win total. You went from 2 to 4, now to 8. Like, I'm okay with trading back Denver at 12. That's not that far back, so you can live with that scenario. But, like, you're picking in the top 10, man. Like, I want 2 really good players in that spot. It better be a great trade back offer if you're going to move out of that spot.
Dom C. Greenbean, this one's going to go over to you. Thank you for the super chat. Dom says Phil needs wide receiver, defensive back, tight end in free agency now and draft players that can step in and be ready when the likes of Fant and Mosley and Rankins are likely gone in 2023. Greenbean, what are your thoughts of what Dom's saying here?
Dom's stupid. We all know that already. This guy is not smart. I'm just kidding. I think we should look. I think like we were talking about before, the truth is we can't really accurately, depict what the draft is going to look like before free agency. So we're just exploring options right now, right? We're having fun. That's what we do. But in free agency, I think that Joe Douglas should absolutely look to spend the money a little bit more so than in years past. Why? Because we finally have our quarterback. The window is now open. Okay. We have that little rookie contract window open. We have our head coach here finally. So the truth is, guys, we've never seen Joe Douglas draft or go in free agency when he's had his quarterback and had his coaching staff. So we really don't know how he's going to do anything. So I think the 1-year contracts, all that kind of stuff, kind of allowing him to build a foundation through the draft, I think that's going to start to subside. And we're going to start to see him try, really hard to bring in guys that he thinks could be core players. A guy like Allen Robinson, just as an example, could be that in Joe Douglas's eyes. Give him a 3-year contract. Keep him here for Zach Wilson for the length of his rookie contract, kind of a thing. Re-sign Berrios. A defensive back, absolutely. What would be better for this young defensive back group? Signing another rookie cornerback or bringing in a vet to kind of round them out? You got Bryce Hall, Michael Carter. Eccles can come in on dime and as a reserve. So we have some nice depth. Eccles is a good player, not the guy I necessarily want to be starting, but I feel good about Carter and Hall. So bring a free agent in for that position because it makes sense to me. Maybe an offensive lineman, James Daniels from Chicago, Trey Turner, some depth, stuff like that. So I think if you're able to do that, and then obviously Dalton Schultz, like we talked about, I think that should be the priority. But if we're able to do that, it gives us flexibility in the draft, and then we can actually start to lean towards BPA at positions that we need, like a Hamilton, like a Nakobe Dean, even like hey man, you want to bring a rookie wide receiver and you got Allen Robinson. The pressure's not on him anymore. And you got Robinson, Corey Davis, you got Berrios, you got Elijah Moore, you got Mims smoking stogs on the side, on the sideline, whatever he's doing. So we have all that going on, but it makes sense to me that way. So yeah, that's the way I'd like to see it done.
All right. Lord Dana Marie, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, what about a trade down where you take Dean and Burks and possibly acquire an extra second rounder? Jake, this one's for you. How you feeling about possibly trading down, taking Dean and Burks for an extra second rounder?
Without knowing how it plays out, that sounds great to me, right? Nakobe Dean's a beast. It's a huge need. How often have we watched the Jets just be destroyed in the running game the past couple of years? Specifically this year, it was the worst I think I've ever seen it in my lifetime as a fan of this team. And then obviously, Nakobe Dean is a speed guy with great fundamentals. They're not going to get gashed in the screen passes like they had been the last couple of years. Can someone on the Jets learn to defend a screen pass? That is a question I have for everyone involved with this team going into 2022. So yeah, this scenario where you get the best linebacker in the draft and one of the best receivers arguably in the draft, if not the best receiver, sign me up. And an extra second round pick. When do I wake up from this dream, Ryan? This sounds too good to be true.
John, I see your comment in the chat. It's two more comments, then we'll get to your super chat. I didn't miss it, brother. Don't you worry. All right, next person up, we got Mumtaz dropping in with a super chat. Green Bean, this one's going to be for you. Mumtaz says, we don't need Linderbaum. Get one of the top offensive tackles who could also play guard. That will be a hedge against Mckay Beckton. Also trade down in first, but not second. 2 first-rounders can be gotten with picks 35 and 38. I don't want to trade down with 35 or 38. I prefer to trade down with 4 personally myself. But Green Bean, how are you feeling about this?
Don't need Linderbaum. Well, yeah. Look, and like we've talked about a little bit, this is not saying that I don't think Linderbaum's amazing and that if we took him, I would be upset. It's okay, that's what they want to do. I'm with it. We're talking about our thoughts, right? And what we think should happen. So if they decided to take Linderbaum, I'd be fine. But I do agree with Mum. He's not necessarily a need right away. Again, you can take a 3rd round, 2nd round center and groom him for a year, be a top 10 center, and then see where you are next year in that situation. As far as a tackle, yeah, I think mid-round tackle, man. That's what we should be doing. I don't love the idea of Evan Neal. It's like using a 3rd straight first-round pick on offensive line and kind of just abandoning the rest of the team as far as the premium capital. I love the O-line. I value it as much as anyone. But that would kind of rub me a little bit because you guys know for years, taking a guard or somebody up in the 1st round was kind of a bugaboo of a lot of teams. That was for the rare guy. Guards, even tackles, 2nd to 5th round, you can get day 1 starters a lot. You can really do that. And if not, year 2 pipeline guys, grooming and all that. So I'd like to do that. I'm not sure what it means trade down in 1st, but not 2nd. I agree with you, Ryan. I'll just go this way with it. I think if we're going to trade back, using our number 4 pick would probably net the best gain. You can probably get another 1st and all that sort of stuff. But like we talked about, Jake mentioned it, I mentioned it. At some point, we got to take guys. we're up top in the draft. There are some really blue chip guys here. We're in a position to get him, and we don't need a quarterback. So I am really leaning towards just taking the guy, let him settle in this year, and let's see next year.
So I'm going to quote the great Jake Asman and say, "Get me guys that are good at football." Raw Power, I saw that comment in there.
I have said that. I mean, I stand by that. I mean, I'm tired of watching this team have bad football players. I can't be alone. There's 1,000 people watching the stream. You're probably a diehard Jet fan like the three of us, and we're tired of watching garbage football. It's not that hard, and it's not asking for that much to expect this team to be, in the mix and their season not being over on Columbus Day for the 5th year in a row, whatever it is. So, good football players. That'd be nice.
Oh, I just want to see competent football heading into the end of November, December. I want to see are the Jets graphic in the hunt. That's all. I don't need to be in the playoffs. Just in the hunt would be fantastic. John, we're getting to your super chat now, brother. Thanks so much for the super chat. Says, great work, guys. Would you consider wide receiver Williams at number 10, regardless of the injury? Williams has legit number 1 wide receiver potential, legit game breaker. Thanks. I would say no. I'm definitely not considering him at number 10 because we need guys that are not injured. I do think he was my top number 1 wide receiver prior to the injury. And if he's falling and he's at the mid-20s, I have no problem moving up to go get this guy. But at number 10, I'm saying no. Jake, where are you feeling about Jameson Williams?
The value might be so good where it's like if he slips to the, I don't know if I'd go all the way up from the mid-20s to get him, but or the low 20s, I guess it would be in this scenario. If he's there late first and the Jets have the capital and they want to move up and get him, sign me up. This guy could be, in theory, a top 10 player in this draft. We've seen so many guys come back from an ACL injury. It's not like the 1980s where it's like, oh my God, will he ever be the same player again? I'm sure he'll be fine. So I would have no issue with it. There's still some people that want him at 10. I see John saying, would you consider him at 10? I wouldn't do it at 10 because I think, as I've been talking about, this year has to be about winning and winning games and not we got Williams coming back at some point and then he's going to help us. I think I need someone like Burks who's going to be there week 1 and can help this team right away. But end of the first, if Jameson Williams somehow is there, no issue if they traded back into round 1 to get him.
Mutt Viles drops in the super chat. Thanks so much, brother. Says, sup, guys. If the Jets decide to trade the 10th pick, what would you want? Picks or an offensive weapon for Zach or an elite defensive player? If we decide to trade the 10th overall pick, I would prefer it to be a wide receiver. But again, I don't want to trade number 10. I would only really want to trade number 4 and then trade one of the seconds for a wide receiver. Green Bean, what are your thoughts on trading number 10? If you had to trade it, what would you want to trade it for?
Picks, man. Well, I guess it depends on the weapon, but I'm a believer in what they're doing. I like the tact that the Jets took. I have been so tired of buying the vet team and trying to just smash them all together and make a success. I've been tired of that for a long time. So I really like bringing in young talent, working on actual development, letting them progress, developing pipelines, all that. So I would personally prefer to trade down at the 10th pick. You're going to still get some good stuff for that. You're going to get a second, and some change probably. So that I would prefer that than a player, I think.
Jake, this next one's for you from Thomas Cahill. Thomas Cahill says, I'm thinking Ridley and Patterson in free agency. I wouldn't go Patterson just because I want Berrios. I don't think it would make sense to go with both of them. But yeah, dude, I'd love Ridley in a trade. Jake, your thoughts?
Ridley, I'm in. Mental health's got to check out. That's a serious issue. I'm not trading a top 10 pick for him, though. Connor Hughes, I'm sorry, man. You got to do better than that. We're not trading a top 10 pick for Calvin Ridley. That's not happening. No chance. Patterson, look, I like the player, but I kind of agree with you, Ryan. Braxton Berrios kind of could fill a lot of those roles. We really, you want to talk about the creative play calling of Mike LaFleur, identifying what Berrios could do in his offense, using him in similar ways the Niners use Deebo Samuel. Gee, I wonder where LaFleur learned that from. We saw that play out with Berrios. So, I agree with you. Look, Patterson's a really good player. If you had him on your fantasy team, you probably love the dude. But I want Braxton Berrios back on this team going forward. Great chemistry with Zach. Could use him all over the place. Obviously phenomenal on special teams. They got to pay him and bring him back.
Kevin Interliciano or Shio. I don't know. I need you radio guys to teach me how to speak things.
Dude, I'm
thank you for the
horrible,
super
man.
chat.
I do the same thing.
O'Leary's great, dude. I love watching O'Leary try to pronounce words. It's great.
I'm so bad, man. Even on the radio, like my two co-hosts in Houston, I'm like, and like, being from New York and Houston for the last 3.5 years, like I know some of the towns, but not really. There's this town in Houston. It's called Humble, Texas. It's spelled humble, Humble, but the H is silent. So it's Humble, Texas. I'm like, how am I supposed to know that? So I say that, Jim in Humble, you're on ESPN Houston. It's Humble. And I'm like, how am I supposed to know that? Like, give me a break. I'm terrible with names and pronunciations, all that.
Oh, dude, it's so hard. Green Bean, this one's gonna be for you. Thank you. Kevin drops in with the super chat, says, I feel like Christian Kirk would be a nice free agent signing. What are your thoughts? I like Christian Kirk a lot. I don't know if he would be the guy I'd specifically target. I think I would prefer Robinson on a discounted contract over paying Christian Kirk, but I like Kirk a lot. Green Bean, your thoughts on Christian Kirk?
Give me a second, Ryan. I'm sorry. I'm having issues over here. I'll fix it in a second. My bad.
That's right. We'll go to the next question to you. You know what? I answered it. So I'm going to say that we got to go through I think we got 10 or 11 super chats that are pending right now. So I apologize. We're going to try and do some rapid fire here. All right. Pat Dunn drops in with a super chat, says, is Ruckert better than McBride, or is it just a value pick for Ruckert in the 3rd or 4th round? It's tough to say. I think there's more upside with Ruckert just because he wasn't utilized. He was like the 5th option on that Ohio State team. So if you want to go a different route in the 2nd round with those 2 picks and maybe not go with the tight end, then yeah, okay, I'm okay with that. And then, maybe you take Ruckert in the 3rd or 4th round. I wouldn't have a problem. I think the upside is there, but I would prefer McBride in the 2nd over Ruckert in the 4th. Jake, your thoughts?
I like McBride better. I like Ruckert's story better, but I'm biased. I'm from Long Island. The kid's from Lindenhurst, and he obviously, his dad, if you follow his dad on Twitter, is trying to manifest his son being drafted to the Jets, which I love. But I think McBride's the better player. Ruckert's the better value. So it just depends on kind of if they sign Schultz, then maybe you go Ruckert in the 3rd or 4th round over McBride, depending on what you do with the in the 1st round, if that makes sense. But I would go McBride, but I like both players.
Yeah, I'm definitely on that same wavelength. I think Schultz kind of allows you that flexibility to be able to go whatever direction you want. That's why he is got to be our number 1 target. Squarehead Jets fan, thank you so much for the super chat. He comes in and says, love the videos, gentlemen. Does Treylon Burks make it to number 35? So Green Bean, I'll ask you this. Does Treylon Burks make it to number 35? Jake and I are saying no. What does the Green Bean say?
Yeah, I doubt it, but I'm going to put this out there because just like Ruckert's dad trying to manifest what he wants, I'm going to say yes. And that's who we get Treylon Burks and Trey McBride with 35 and 38, and Zach Wilson falls to the ground in hysterical tears of gratitude.
From your lips to God's ears, Green Bean. My God.
Oh, my God. We got Nakobe Dean at 10. We get Carl Loftus or Neil, whichever one you want over there. Sign me up. I'm all about it. Jake, your thoughts on Cordell Patterson in free agency from Thomas Cahill?
Like the player, but kind of what we were saying. I feel like Berrios does a lot of the similar things. I rather spend the money, bring back Berrios, and then go sign a legitimate pass catching wide receiver. By the way, the comment about Christian Kirk, I like Christian Kirk a lot. I think he's a really good player. Is he a true number 1? No. Could you still take a number 1 in the draft in the 1st round, or maybe with one of your 2nd round picks? I think you still can. But if you tell me the receiving core next year is Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Braxton Berrios, Christian Kirk, and then someone they draft in the top 40, that's damn good. I would, and this under the assumption tight end is no longer Ryan Griffin and Daniel Brown. It's Dalton Schultz and Trey McBride. Sign me up. That's what Zach Wilson needs to be successful.
Ryan Mondo drops in the super chat, says Quincy Williams, the pass rusher, vet cornerback, safety is a priority. I have no problem going vet cornerback and safety. I'm not banking on Quincy Williams being our pass rusher, but if he wants to blitz off the edge from the linebacker position, no problems whatsoever. The guy's a heat-seeking missile. He shouldn't be in pass coverage anyway, in my opinion. 1189 Paris. Thank you so much for the super chat, brother. Where'd it go? Bam. He says, what improvement does this panel want to see in Robert Saleh in 2022? I don't know. I what I've gotten from him is just kind of what I like. Maybe I want to see a little more I want to see winning. That's flat out. I want to see winning.
Win games.
Yeah, Jake,
Yeah.
Green Bean. You guys got anything you want to see from Robert Saleh?
In times of adversity, I'd like to see him maybe be more involved in specific areas of the team. Like if the defense is getting just ripped to shreds, I would have no issue if he took over play calling or he was more involved that week. I feel like that's something that he didn't want to do this year because he was brought in to be the CEO over the team. But it's his ass next year if this team is god awful again and guys aren't learning his system. I think being more flexible in certain areas too. Like I didn't like the answer he gave when Stephon Diggs was killing them in the first matchup with the Bills. Well, why is Bryce Hall not following him, shadowing him? Well, our system doesn't do that. Well, maybe your system should adapt to the guy that's killing you on every play, and you put your best corner to cover Stephon Diggs. Like, I would like to see him be more adaptable. I think overall, I'm encouraged by what we have seen from Saleh. He was given an awful roster, as we all know, but I feel like just like situational stuff, involvement in certain areas, I think that's something that we could see improvement on going from year 1 to year 2.
Green Bean, what about you? What do you want to see from Robert Saleh? All right. All right.
Absolutely nothing. Robert Saleh is
well. I agree with what Jake said. I would think that when we're having a tough moment, I'd like to see Saleh more involved. He seems like he's only there to rah when we do something good. So I'd like to see some of that.
I love it. Lavish D says, Cowboy fan here. No, you're good, Green Bean. We got you. Cowboy fan here. What would y'all give up for Amari Cooper? What would you give up, Jake? Mims and 2 seconds? No, absolutely not. Amari Cooper is on a 3-year, $20 million a year contract. You're high off your ass if you think I'm giving up 2 second-round picks for Amari Cooper. You could take my 5th-round pick, or you can cut him and save yourself some cap space. Thank you very much. You know what? I'll throw Denzel Mims in for you. Sorry. Maybe I got a little heated there. Jake, what are your thoughts on trading for Amari Cooper? What would we give up?
I'd be willing to trade for him. I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely not trading a 1st-round pick for him because you mentioned the contract. Like, you're doing the Cowboys a favor, helping them clear this cap space by bringing on, that type of player. Let me just say this, though. Anyone who continues to put Denzel Mims in these trade scenarios as if any team wants him, like,
it's
I laugh.
Throw-in.
I laugh.
Throw-in.
Like this is classic sports radio where you call up FAN and you say, "Oh, I'd like to trade so and so for Mike Trout. I'd like to trade Tyler Wade, and I'd like to trade like name your scrub player Ronald Torreyes for Mike Trout. Like for all you Yankee fans out there, like it's Denzel Mims is zero value. So if you want Amari Cooper, start with something that's not Denzel Mims and work your way from there."
Guys, how much time do I have you left for? We got to burn through a few more super chats. If not, I don't mind rattling through them myself, but we're getting towards the end of our 10 o'clock commitment. So you guys let me know if you can go for another half hour or so. Green Bean, I know you have your after hours stream. So just let me know what you guys are thinking.
I have to eat my Chipotle and sweat out the last 2 minutes of this Knicks game, but I got a couple more minutes with you till 10. Or at 10 Eastern. So all good.
Okay. So we'll rattle through this real quick. I saw. All right. So we'll get Sean's scenario, then we'll look at the our T-shirt giveaway, and then I'll go through and I'll respond to some of these super chats here. Sean with the super chat says, "Crazy scenario. If we draft Burks, would you draft Jameson Williams at 35 or even trade up at the end of the first for him? This is pending no big signing." I would take Jameson Williams at 35 if he fell to us. Because Corey Davis, I believe there's an out in his contract after next year. It's not that I wouldn't want to keep him, but I think the value in Jameson Williams being as elite as he is, I don't think I'd trade up if we had gotten Burks earlier, but at 35, I wouldn't necessarily be upset with it. I think we have other major holes to fill, but the value might be too good to pass up there. Green Bean, what are your thoughts on possibly drafting Williams after taking Burks?
Yeah, well, I'm also in the same pocket that if a guy that talented is slipping, we know why, because that heartbreaking, terrible injury happened to the poor guy so late in the game here. But if he starts sliding into the second round, it's really tough to ignore a talent like that. Because like Jake said earlier, ACLs are nothing anymore. I mean, he's going to come back. It's 99% chance that he's going to come back and be the same player. That said, maybe not at 35. It's just tough to take Traylon Burks and take him. But if he's there, you definitely got to consider it.
What about you, Jake? How you feeling about possibly taking Williams after taking Burks?
Run to the podium if he's there. I don't see it happening, though. I still think he's a first-round pick.
All right, Jake, I'm going to have you go to your most recent YouTube video. And Green Bean, I'm going to have you go to last week's Talkin' Jets panel. We're going to pick some qualifiers for this T-shirt giveaway that we're going to do right now. Jake, I'm going to ask you to give me 5 names. Green Bean, I'm going to ask you to give me 5 names. Right now, I have Spin Max Dave, Bobby M, Chris N3, Noel Suez, Gitmo Bob, Ant Jets 82, Tony G, NY Jets Florida, John Idzik, Joseph Grana, Connor Doherty, Triple B29 Rob, James Thrice, AC just got qualified as well. We're going to have Nightbot pick another winner too. So once I get that winner up from here, then I'll get your thoughts as well. Come on, Nightbot. Give me someone else here. What we got going on? CT Blaze 28. CT Blaze 28. You have been qualified for our T-shirt giveaway. And Jake, I'm going to go to you first. Give me 5 commenters from your most recent video.
You know,
I hope we got 5 at least.
No, we definitely did. A bunch of people commented, but it's funny. My most recent videos have been Texan stuff. I usually post the Jet video every day in the morning. So all the people that watch my radio show here in Houston are gonna be like, "Why the hell is everyone saying Jets talk sent me here? What does that have anything to do with if Nick Caserio is going to trade the 3rd pick in the draft?" But here are a couple names for you here. Aaron Harm. That's HARM.
Okay.
Randy Martinez.
Okay.
Let me try and just go random here so I don't favor someone. My guy Dark Soldier, he's a big time listener to the content. Let's give him
big fan.
Let's see. Let's go with Zane Game 24.
Game 24. Okay, one more.
One more. This is tough. So many commented. I feel bad having to pick. I'm going to just close my eyes and pick someone random. Here we go. All right. Wherever my mouse hovers, I'm going. We're going with Mikey G.
Mikey G. All right. Green Bean, give me 5 from your side as well.
All right. I'm just going top down. Eric Craig. Eric with a C.
Yep.
What's up, Eric? We got Mike Cos, C-O-S. Apostrophes, okay. Jets all the time.
Jets all time. Okay.
We got Jael, like J-A-E-L, D-A, 12 joules. Jael.12 joules.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a biggie.
2 more.
Now we got Keith Trailer. Taylor with an R. Trailer.
Okay, and 1 more.
And then we got Stud City 718.
What a name.
Stud City.
We got some good ones.
718? 718?
718. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Jake, you're going to get introduced to a little bit of odds or evens here on the Jets Talk panel. You know how to play odds or evens?
Odds or evens. I'm sure I can figure it out. I hope it's not too difficult.
So you throw up a few fingers when I count down from 3, and I'm going to eliminate based on odds or evens. So 3, 2, 1. All right. Evens are gone. This is good. This was a good night. We got a bunch of people commenting and getting eliminated from a T-shirt contest. All right. Next round. 3, 2, 1. What is that? That's an even number. Okay. Bam. There's got to be a faster way to do this. Maybe if I just did it like not scratching each individual name off. Okay. Odds or evens. 3, 2, 1. What is that? That's an odd. That's an odd. Okay. Words are hard tonight, boys. John Idzik, gone. Randy Martinez, gone. Oh, no. Stud City, gone. We're down to 3. We're down to 3. John Idzik is back. We're down to Gitmo Bob, James Thrice, and Eric Craig. So, all right, chat, give me 1 number, the first number that pops up, plus whatever we do. 3, 2, 1. That's 7, 8. What's the next number? Let's see. In the chat, 2. So we're going evens. Ooh, we get one more round. All right, so we're down to Gitmo Bob and Eric Craig. Chat, next number up after Gangrene. 3, 2, 1. That's an odd number. Plus a 5. So we got evens. All right, Gitmo Bob. Gitmo Bob, you are our t-shirt giveaway winner. Make sure you reach out to me on one of my social media channels. I'll get your information. I'll send you out a t-shirt. You'll get one of either the Wall Street Wilson or one of the division rival shirts, or a different shirt of your choosing if you choose. So make sure you reach out to me. Let's go around our panel. We'll give our closing thoughts, and then I'll say goodbye to Green Bean and Jake, and I'll go through and I'll rattle off the rest of these super chat questions. Yeah, it's been fun. So, Jake, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a blast having you here. We hope to have you on again for sure. Tell us where we can find you, what you got going on.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, thanks for having me, man. It was great to have you on my show over the weekend. Green Bean, I know we're in talks of making something happen again real soon, so I'm looking forward to that. But I always say the Jet fan base has got to be the most passionate fan base in the NFL. There's no other fan base that has this many great content creators on YouTube. Like, I live in Houston. It's the 4th biggest city in the country. I talk about the Texans every day. I post clips from my radio show on YouTube. We're like the only ones that have any content talking about the team every day. It's crazy. So on YouTube, there's like 1,000 people talking Jets every day. So it's, it's incredible. The fan base that, the Jets have. So appreciate all you guys supporting the channel. I post a Jet video at least once a day on my YouTube channel. It's just my name, Jake Asman. So if you like the Jets, if you like Ryan, if you like Green Bean, you'll like my content as well. So thanks so much for watching and supporting.
I love it. I love it. Green Bean, any last words for our panel?
Yeah, I want to thank you guys too. I had a good time tonight. Sorry for the internet stuff. It's really good one second and then non-existent the next. My bad. We're going to try it again at 10:30 over on my channel, Green Bean Jets Fan. See how we get through that. And I'd love to have you guys. We have a good time at the After Hours Jets Fest. All are welcome.
And this is Green Bean's last After Hours Jet Fest this week, so make sure you hang out over there as well. Guys, it's been a lot of fun having you in there. Jake, Green Bean, I'm going to say goodbye to you now. Thank you so much for coming on, guys. I will talk to you throughout the week, I'm sure. And anytime something big pops up Jetland, I'll be asking your thoughts.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, have a good night, guys.
Woo! Man, we got some good guests. I shouldn't say good guests because Green Bean and Matt are always here. But Jake, man, what a good dude. We like him. He's a good dude. All right, we got Big Joe coming in with Super Chat. Big Joe drops in and says, "Hey, fellas, I know it's this is revisionist history, but humor me here. If the Jets had drafted Dan Marino years ago, how many Super Bowls would the Jets have won? I mean, you would have hoped through the sack exchange years you could have won something for sure. More than one. We'll say more than just the 69 one or 68 one. Yeah, that'll be my answer. All right, Scott Rondale, thank you so much for the super chat. Scott says, do you guys look at the 49ers as a reflection as to what the Jets could be guessing on how Douglas and Saleh think they probably go heavy in the trenches? Well, Saleh and Douglas have both said they want to go heavy on the offensive and defensive lines. That's something they definitely believe in. And I would definitely look at the 49ers as to how they would want to run at least I would say both sides, offensive and defensive. Maybe you say defensive is a little different now that Saleh is no longer there, but offensively, I would think whatever they were doing with Shanahan would absolutely be what you'd want to do with LaFleur here. So yeah, look, I'm all about it. Let's see. Then we got another super chat from Scott Rondell. So let me throw that up and see what I just possibly missed. I should read these things before I put them on screen. I'm like Ron Burgundy in that respect. 49ers as reflection. What I meant, 49ers as reflection from previous super chat. Yeah, we got you. We understand. Joseph Grana, I don't see a super chat in there, but thank you so much for the donation, brother. Much appreciated. Marty Thompson drops in with a super chat. Marty says, "Good day, mate. Aussie Jet here. Do we need another running back? If so, who?" Running back's not an area that I would be overly concerned about. I would say I would be looking towards the draft and also, just inward towards some of our guys, because I like what we got in Michael Carter. I would re-sign Tevin Coleman as our second running back. And then if we have, Ty Johnson and Austin Walter as running backs 3 and 4, I'm kind of okay with it. I would like a bigger body type running back for goal line situations, but if we had to roll in with what we got right now, I'm not really upset with it at all. Cyril Devine, thank you so much for the super chat. I don't see a question attached to it, so thank you all the same. Thomas Cahill drops in a super chat, says, "Can we get Spiller as a counterweight to Carter?" I'm assuming you're talking draft. I actually have no idea who Spiller is in terms of the draft. I apologize. I would love to actually have a little more information. So hopefully I'll do some more research and I can get back to you on that particular comment. Dimitri drops in with a super chat. Dimitri says, "Can Denzel Mims be salvaged by the Jets, or is he already a bust?" It's one of those situations, right? Like, my dad always used to tell me that you only get one chance to make a first impression. And from what we've seen from Denzel Mims over the course of the last year, it's kind of tough to think that he's going to be able to reclaim himself. I think he can still be a good receiver in this league. I just don't think it's going to end up being with the New York Jets. I think he's not on the roster week 1 of the 2022 season. I think he might at best make it to camp with us, but I think he's ultimately going to wind up being cut, sadly. And that's someone I was incredibly high on in the draft just last year, or 2 years ago now. AZ Jets drops in with the super chat, says, "Trade the 4th pick for 2 of the Eagles' first rounders, then take Linderbaum at 10 and hope to grab Burks or Dean later in the draft. Sign me up for that." I think there's going to be a lot of people talking about trading down with the Eagles just because they have the 2 first-round picks. I believe if they were to give up picks 19 and 16, I think is what it is, that gets them up to number 4. So you wouldn't be able to get the 2 earlier ones, but I believe 19 and 16 does work out all right. And if they're jumping up for, the question for me is, who are they jumping up for? Because I would have no problem taking Linderbaum or Burks or Dean with those 3 first-round picks. I just have a hard time thinking they're going to be trading up for anyone unless one of the top edges is there. And at that point, I'm taking the top edge. I'm not trading down there. But I do like Linderbaum, and I do like Dean, and I do like Burks. So that's my thoughts on that. Let's see. Family Man drops in with super chat. "What's up, brother?" Thank you so much. Says, "Should Salah adjust his scheme so defensive tackles like Foley are two-gapping on rundowns instead of running upfield and opening huge running lanes?" I think what you'll wind up seeing next year is John Franklin Myers and Quinnen Williams at the defensive tackle positions. I don't think Foley's going to end up being here next year. And then I would look for the edge rushers, Lawson and whoever we wind up bringing in, whether it be in free agency or someone in the draft, alongside Huff, really bringing a lot of heat on the edges. And then Quinnen and John Franklin Myers pushing more up the field and having your linebackers clean up the running game. And I think having some safety help a little bit further back is going to help CJ Mosley and that linebacking core. I think we got a little less from CJ Mosley this year because of the deficiencies we had at the safety position. I don't have anything I can really justify that with. It's just sort of a feeling when you're kind of caught in the middle of 2 areas and the front is a little bit better than the back half. I think you probably favor one side over the other. But again, I'm probably just kind of guessing at that. Thomas Cahill drops in with a super chat. Thomas says, Isaiah? Is that how you say it? Isia Spiller, Texas A&M, 220-pound, 6'1", great runner, beastly. Okay, I'm going to have to watch this guy because 220 at 6'1", that's a big dude. I would say the LaFleur system and the Shanahan system definitely calls more for speed, like sub 4.4 type running backs. So if he can hit that mark or close to it at that height, I think you might have something there. But I don't know. It depends where you'd have to take him. I don't know where he's ranked in particular But running back would not be very high on my list. I don't think I would touch one at best 4th round, but I mean, I'm probably looking 5th round realistically. The Marty Thompson drops in, brother, with another super chat. Aussie Jet says Mims can be salvaged. He was injured and needs to go. What's with all the little squigglies over the ends? Do they do squiggles over in Australia? I didn't know they did squiggles down there, or upside down there. Mims can be salvaged. He was injured and needs to go. Mims can be salvaged. I have a hard time believing he's going to be salvaged here. That's just a gut feeling. I got nothing to back that up whatsoever, but I'd be pretty concerned. I wouldn't bank on Denzel Mims being better and can be salvaged, because if you do that, then you're probably skipping over some of the free agent wide receivers or tradable wide receivers or draft picks that you could be taking because you're banking on Denzel Mims. And I, unfortunately, will not be banking on either Mckay Beckton or Denzel Mims heading into next year. And that's not to say I don't have hope for him. I really do. I have more hope with Beckton than I do with Mims, just based on the amount of playing time we saw from Mims. I think he had way more snaps than I thought throughout the season. I think he ended with like 200 snaps, and which means he probably only had maybe double-digit targets. Really a no-go. So I would say I don't think Denzel Mims is going to be salvaged. Whew! Man, that was a lot of talking to do. I like that. That was fun. I like Jake. Wish we had Matt a little bit longer. I love Green Bean. So, guys, if you're going to check out Green Bean stream, he starts over there on his channel at 10:30. He's got his after-hours stream there. I'll have some videos coming out over the course of the next few days. I think I'm going to start doing my 10 o'clock mocks again for the members only. As one of the perks for you guys joining the channel. We could go over a whole bunch of different free agent and draft scenarios. It's kind of intimate. It's more of like a half hour to 45-minute type stream, where it's just kind of you and me. And it's kind of nice, but it's for members only. So you guys that want to join the channel, if you want to support the content, clearly this stuff gets put out for free. So it's always appreciated, via super chat or membership, whatever you do. But guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate you all coming on. It's been a lot of fun. And I look forward to getting some more guests and some more people on in the coming weeks. Marty Thompson dropping in with the last second super chat says, I so wanted us to get CeeDee Lamb. Can you imagine? Oh, dude, CeeDee Lamb. If I knew what I knew about Beckton now, I would take CeeDee Lamb. Or no, actually, no. I'm sorry. I would take Wirfs, unfortunately. But yeah, I hear you, brother. All right, boys. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name's Ryan. This is Jets Talk signing off. JETS.